All right. Well, let's get going here. Welcome. Put that up on the screen. I'm going to wait for just a bit. Wait for about 5 minutes or so. I know I'm late. What am I, 10 minutes late? I have to look here. I can't see. I'm like 16 minutes late. Oh, well. Well, we'll see. While I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and put a little music on for myself while we do this. It really helps me to get through it. Not that it's torture. I actually really like it, but it always helps to have something in the background. I don't know why. It's just you know what? I think it's because I'm a very audible person. Auditory, I think is the right word. And yeah, so that's just who I am. So it helps me out to. I think figuring that stuff out about yourself is a good idea. It helps you kind of judge what it is you want to. I mean, how you want to go about doing stuff, right? There we go. That's going to help me get through this. I do like this nice New York skyline. I don't even know if it's New York. Looks like it might be. It's a nice skyline to get going. But we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I imagine there are a lot of people who have who won't be here, who have been here normally, just because of the nature of the time change. So it's just a few as we get started, just a few technical details. I will be finishing this workthrough of this book, and then I'll no longer be doing any web development on stream. There's plenty of people that cover web development, other than very, very minimal web development. I'm actually planning on writing a book / guide / knowledge base website, whatever, called Essential Web Development. I'll probably call it Essential Web Document Development. And it'll be a beginner boost with just the minimum for HTML and CSS, which we've been going through. It won't have any JavaScript in it. It'll introduce the idea of JavaScript, but it won't have any JavaScript in it. And then I'll be doing Essential JavaScript for documents. Now I may or may not combine those two and include JavaScript using the DOM, which is almost a swear word these days, unfortunately, to say in the web circles. They're like so anti-DOM. It's crazy. You're like, well, what's this? People get so grumpy about the DOM. I'm like, you know what? The DOM gets stuff done, particularly now that the DOM is a document object model, which we've talked about on this previous streams. Just a reminder, if you want to join me, you can go to chat.rdbx.gg, and you can join our free node here on IRC. Pound hashtag RWX is the name of our channel if you want to join, if you want your questions and comments to be included on the stream. I'm just going to confirm the stream is going through and turn off my thing here. So we got some people from YouTube. Yay. So YouTubers, and you in particular, I don't know if you noticed, but I've disabled live chat from YouTube, and I will forthcoming. I won't be supporting it at all. I'm sorry. I can't support the interface. Is just not sustainable. Therefore, I mean, I like YouTube. I'm going to continue to use YouTube for all the reasons that I primarily started using it. But I will no longer be activating live stream chat through YouTube ever. If and when there is a bridge update, hi Ptolemaic. If and when there's a bridge update to the tool that we use to bridge Discord and Twitch directly into IRC, happily activate that. That's not a problem. It's like super easy to do, and I'll be happy to start doing that again at that point. The reason that doesn't exist is because integrating YouTube chat, live stream chat is a pain in the butt right now, because it's because of the native architecture. You don't want the details. The point of it is there's never going to be YouTube chat until YouTube fixes chat, live chat. So you can easily go there and I assume that if you're using YouTube, you probably aren't using it for chat anyway. You probably got it on your TV or on your phone or your iPad. And if you're asking questions, you're going to want to go do that. You're going to want to do it in a comment. And I do try to read all the comments. which is hard. But I do try to read all the comments if you have a specific comment, or you can go, write down your question offline if you don't want to be asked online. And then you can go ask in the Discord channel, which also pipes into the to the chat here, or you can get help from Discord from other people, or you can bite the bullet and actually use IRC, which will make you a better person, a better technologist anyway. Whether you use chat.rbx.gg, which does not dox your IP. If you go to chat.rbx.gg, you will not be giving up any information about yourself other than what you decide to reveal. If you use IRC from an IRC client, then you should obviously be more careful about that. That needs to be a video all by itself. I have to bring it up though, because we've bridged Twitch. So if you like Twitch, that's obviously a really easy way to chat. I've softened my hate for Twitch, and I just look, Twitch is the place to do live streaming. I may complain all the time about different things that they're doing. Right now, Twitch is making big money on me for free because I don't get a dime of any of the stuff that they do. They get all this advertising money. I don't get to because I'm not an affiliate anymore, so that I can support YouTube streams and stuff in real time. And I've paid the price, which for me is approximately $500 a month. Whatever. So we're still starting up, so I can get this out of my system before we start, because when we do start, I really, really want to work through this book quickly. I don't want to spend more than 2 or 3 more weeks on it. And we're going to actually super speed the CSS stuff, because, and I'll get into why, but because I don't believe it's as relevant to most people's goals, and is knowing that they can go get it and read it anytime is more important. So I do want to hit the high points during the CSS, but I may or may not implement all of those parts. All right, so what else to know? Assuming I get this job next week, or when I do get a full-time job, Beginner Boosts will stop on Saturdays and Sundays. It will no longer take place. I will still be doing stuff, but it will not be in a Beginner Boost form. This is the reason that I didn't call this a Beginner Boost. I called it, a Workthrough, because I wanted it to be modular so I could abandon it once this book is done. But I will be doing content, but since another point of interest is I will be doing live mentoring during the afternoons for most people, or the evenings for some people. So I will be doing live mentoring. So almost all of my mentoring hours, 5 hours a day, will be mentoring, and they will be done online. And that mentoring is based on my materials for Beginner Boost. So you'll be getting Beginner Boost every day for almost 5 hours a day. So in different parts, it depends on where the person that I'm mentoring is at. I am making I'm going to make a disclosure to everybody that I'm personally mentoring right now to prepare for that. If somebody doesn't want that, they can opt in to do a purely private session, but I'm going to be charging 20% more for that, so that I can maintain my good faith commitment to everybody to continue to do Beginner Boosts. And as one person said, that will actually be better, because they'll be able to see somebody going through the Beginner Boost, asking the questions, and being mentored in real time. Whether or not they're muted during that time is a different question. It depends on the person. So that is my plan. If that doesn't work, I'll be dropping people that I mentor and keeping the live streaming during the evenings. That is my anticipated plan going forward, and I hope that it pans out. We'll see what happens. But if I can't stream 8 hours a day because I'm doing full-time work, that is the best alternative. I don't want to give up my live streams. So I just want to put that all out there. So if you want to read more about that, you can read my log entry for today. You can go find that on my rwxrob.live and click on GitHub, and you'll see my log there. All right, I think we're about ready to get started. First, let's get to the right place, and then I'll switch over the topic. Perspicacious. That was fun. That was me calculating rates. All right, so let's go into learning web design. And we'll start up here. We'll start up our server. I'll be serving on port 8080. Actually, let's go ahead and put that in the background. If you don't have a web server, you can go watch Making a Web Server in Go, or you can do there's any number of ways you can run a web server on your own machine. Some people like the Python one. I happen to prefer making my own in Go. There's browser sync. That is another thing. I may or may not make a video on browser sync. I don't know when. That will have to be its own video. I might do that next week or tomorrow. I might do an entire video just on how to set up browser sync, because it's a very, very professional development tool, and I haven't covered it at all. And I use it anytime I do web development. I use that. I like writing a server, but I normally don't write a server for my previewing. I use browser sync, even though it's NPM, and it's Node, and I would love to have it replaced with a Go version, which we might have to write someday. And so yeah, we're getting all set up here. I'm gonna go ahead and change the topic. Last topic I had was working with web design. All right, so I'm going to try to bookmark the topics today. Yeah. I was just reminded of all the work I have to do to go back through all our other workthroughs and put chapter headings in all of them. It's going to take me 2 days. It's hard work, people, doing this stuff. That's not work if I'm doing stuff I want to do, which is why I'm not doing web design anymore. All right, so I'm the guy to learn web design from if you want to learn how to hack it all. Or you want to learn the minimum, or you want to learn what you can throw out. If you want to become a web designer, this is probably not the place to be. So I'm just going to put that out there. Learning web design. Text line adjustments. Okay. All right. So, yeah, we did selectors last time. All right. How are we doing? We got everybody. Are we all ready to go? Let's do this. This reminds me. I have to make a comment here. This reminds me that at the end of the day, web design and web document design and development is almost entirely not traditional tech work. It feels a lot like writing a book. It feels a lot like documentation, and those are fine things. God knows I love to write and do tech docs. But when you go into this kind of web development and web design, it has the same feel as, graphic design and web design and typography or typecasting, typesetting, sorry, not casting, and all of those things. And that's great if you're like into graphics arts and all that stuff. But if you're a programmer and a Linux geek and a terminal person, I'm looking for the door. I'm looking for, how do I get through this the fastest? Why does my fonts not line up correctly on my site? And that's all I care about. I don't care about understanding every single nuance of it. And if I did, I would definitely not, get paper cuts from a book on it, or even search through a book. So this is where I'm coming from. I just want to put that out there. I want you to know exactly where I'm coming from when I go through this, so you can, save yourself time if that's not the opinion you want. All right, so line height. You can set line height all the time. Line height is one of the things that people don't set when they change the font size. So let me go ahead and show you that. Most of the stuff I've been showing you when we go through this, I realize, is usually the mistakes you want to avoid, because that's the first things that pop into my head. So for example, let's pull up our website, and let's go ahead and pull in localhost 8080. I got the marquee there and everything. We're going to put Linux. Yay, Linux Torvalds. We're going to do our inspect element. And we got our console with all of our craziness up here. I'm probably going to do this in Vivaldi next time. Oh, good grid. Here we go. So what does line height mean? Well, let's try it. So right here, got the controversy paragraph. Let's click on that, inspect that. It'll jump us right into it. Hello. I don't need any more coffee. Thank you very much, honey. She's just checking in on me. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and change the font size, shall we? And let's change the font size and make it really big, but let's not change the line height. Shall we do that? Watch what happens. So we're using EMs for reasons that I went to in extreme length. I'm going to say 1.2 rem. All right, and that changed the entire. That's not too bad. I kind of like it, right? It made it big. Let's go some more though. Let's like bump it up some more. Let's do like 1.9. Oh my gosh, right? It's getting kind of big there. You might not want that same amount of space there. Let's do this. Let's do something smaller, shall we? So let's do 0.8. What do we get there? Minimum, Mr. Torvalds. So it does a pretty good job of doing the line adjustments as you go because we're using rem, and because it's adjusting everything all at the same time. Occasionally, though, you'll get a situation where it's not the right size. So let's say that was not giving you enough distance in between your lines for some reason. That is when you would want to do line height. So line height, and we're going to put instead of having 1. See how it got smaller? If I have 1.3, it'll be about the same, right? I think that's actually what current line height is. Let's do that. Actually, I wonder what the line height is by default. Let's go look. What is the default line height? So I had to turn browser styles on. So we're going to go look at this line height. Maybe it doesn't have any. Line height is normal. I don't know what that means. Let's go read about it. I don't know what that means. Line height property defines the minimum distance from the baseline to the next baseline. Baseline is the measuring line the line sits on. Here we go. There's the baseline. All right, line height 2 EM. So that, if you want double spaced font, let's do that. Let's do a line height of 2. So let's do 2. So there's double. That's ugly. I don't want that. But you see what I'm saying? So that makes a double spaced, and you can change it. Actually, that's 2. I do that all the time. I didn't do a rem here. I mean, I guess they must have assumed rem, but so that apparently makes it 41.6 pixels. If it is 1 rem, it's 28.8 pixels. Interesting. Am I changing the rem someplace in here? No, you know why? Because it's font size is 1.3. You wanted to talk about the story of Greg and pair programming. He brought up the story of Greg and pair programming. Who was the Adam Ruins name he brought up? Was it Adam Ruins work? Yeah, it was Adam Ruins everything, but I don't remember. Adam Ruins. It was one episode. Adam Ruins work is the one that talks about some of that other stuff. So anyway, look at when we get rid of this, it goes to 16 pixels because 1 rem. So the answer has been solved for us. 1 rem is exactly 16 pixels. That's the default font size for the system. If I take it up a notch, then 1 rem becomes 20 because it's the same. If I want to have double the rem, it'll make it double, right? 41. I mean, it goes without saying. So too much time on that. You know what to do there. I don't need to really talk more about that. So let's go down through that some more. Let me cover this up. It's kind of freaking me out. All right, so you have line height. 2. Don't use percentages and stuff like that. Just use rems. Use rems. Normal line height is 1.2. Apparently not. We just proved it. So, I mean, I'm going to prove it again. Here's the actual line height value in pixels, right? So with a font size of 1, which is the default font size for the whole document, which is 16 pixels by default. And this is why I'm looking at this. No offense. This is why I'm looking at it. I've always been curious, right? So 1 rem. So normal rem. If I do 1, let's see. Oh, you're right. It might be 1.2. Because look at that. Look at how. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, look at that. Well, okay, we found something out. I wish it would tell us what normal was. Does she tell us that in the book? Let's go look. What is normal? What is normal? Line heights can be specified in units. We already talked about that. Just use rem. This is... Okay, if you set the line height of the body element using EMs or percentages, blah, 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 we're going to do that. No. All right, let's talk about that. This is another thing the book doesn't cover. It doesn't cover what the default is. And our good friend here, Sharon, has proved to us that it is actually 1.2. It must be. Normal must be the equivalent of 1.2 because look, if I put 1 REM, that means it makes it the same as font size, which is clearly too crunched. See right here? See how it kind of runs into each other? It overlaps the P. So that means that is not big enough. And I bet you if we get rid of it, watch. Yep, it's a little bit bigger. Let's see what happens if I set it to 1.2. So thank you for the clarification. So let's do that. So 1.2. Boom. There you go. So the default line height is 1.2 rem. Nice. All right, so that's good to know. And look at that. That's perfect. You see that? Because this line ends where the other one begins. See that P there? That P is all nice and happy. Oh, it's not anymore. I moved it, but you see what I mean? It's C. It doesn't overlap at all. It's perfect. So that's 1.2. So the normal one is 1.2. Today I learned. Because look, if I turn it back on and off, it doesn't change. Oh, wait. Why is that changing things? Why is it pushing some things down? Interesting. Well, that's very interesting. That's interesting. I have a feeling it's EM. What do you want to wait? Because look at that. You see that? That's totally different, right? So that means the default is not rem. Let's see if it's EM. This is inquiring minds want to know. This makes it fun for me. No, that's not that either. Tell me why the space is changing if the default is 1.2. It's 1.2 without the type? Well, then what's the unit? Oh, it looks like it's pretty close, but even this, look at this. Watch the header. Watch this. This is interesting. Aha, look at that. So that, you make it big enough, it doesn't do it. It's still doing it though. Look at that. It's 1 or 2 pixels off. You seen that? Oh, I know it accepts none, but what I want to know is what the actual value is. Inquiring minds want to know. I mean, this is one of my main reasons for going through this. So it looks like 1.2 is pretty damn close to the actual thing. This history thing wouldn't move at all. You can probably see it move a little bit. It wouldn't move at all if it were actually 1.2. And what does 1.2 even mean? So, I mean, this is probably just a factor of Firefox, I'm guessing. Typical browser behavior, not consistent. Yeah. So, but what I find interesting is that a couple things are interesting here. So it's not rem. It's actually rem with regard to the paragraph, and it's not em. So the question before us is, what is the default line height? And I should probably put that in it. Let me do something here in my topic. Topic. Mystery. What is the default line height value? Chat.rvx.gg. Be a fun little topical change. I mean, if I'm going to go down these rabbit holes because these things are fun to me. So if you learn web design in the process, great. So, so far, if you're just joining us, thanks to Sharon. Sharon has showed us that the default line height is 1.2. So there's our TLDR. Line height is the distance between baseline to baseline, which is the imaginary line that goes under that all the lines are on, but sometimes the P and the G go over, right? So that is line height. So baseline to baseline, that's the distance between those two. It's apparently 1.2, so the mystery remains, well, what is 1.2? 1.2 watts. right? So we're going to figure that out. It's not covered in the book, by the way. So, and then it's not REM. We know it's not REM, right? Because watch this. On, off, on, off. Look at the distance there. Now, intriguingly enough, is that if you do the same thing to a paragraph, you'll notice the paragraph line height doesn't change dramatically. But it's the line height between the baselines of the headers that does change. And that might be because of EM, who knows what. I actually tried that with EM, it was the same problem. So I tried it with EM. All right, up, still like massive changes here. Paragraphs seem to be more or less intact in terms of their line heightness. It's definitely not 1. And that's another thing I thought. I thought it was 1 REM for a while. And I was wrong when we first went into this. It's not 1 REM. Well, the default is normal. So whatever normal is, we don't know what normal means. So we're trying to figure that out. So 1 REM is clearly not it. 1 REM, I do find it interesting that line height 1 REM is 16 pixels, which is consistent with the font size, which is consistent with the font size for the whole page, which is 16 pixels by default. So that's nice, but it was clearly too cramped up, and that's when Sharon kindly corrected me and said it's 1.2 REM, and I tried it, and I'm like, this isn't right, because it's like moving back and forth. And she goes, no, there's no REM on the end. It's just 1.2. Well, 1.2 what's? So apparently normal in Firefox is 1.2, which, as you can already see, is not completely accurate. Watch history move around. History bounces around, blah, 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 blah. So that's a browser sync. That's a browser issue probably. But we still, the question still remains, what even is 1.2? So I'm going to turn to the book to figure that out, and then I'll turn to the internet. So the book says, line height can be specified in one of the CSS length units. Here we go. When a number, there you go, line height 2. When a number is specified alone, as shown in the first example, it acts as a scaling factor. Well, there you go. There's your answer. As in for multiplied by the current font size to calculate the line height value. The line heights can also be specified in one of the many CSS length units, EMs and percentages. So what I find really fascinating about that is the font sizes here. I'm going to guess, I'm going to do a little bit of research here. I'm going to guess that the reason that when I use REMs that it has a problem, because REM should be working. This actually ends up being an illustration of why you want to use REMs, right? Because I have a feeling, I don't know, but I have a feeling that my distances here are in EMs or percentages, and so they're relative to their container, and therefore they're not consistent with the entire document. And the reason I was surprised that these things were such a difference between this is because of that. So this ends up being a good example of why you should use REMs. Rain, hackers unite. Looks like a raid. No, you guys, nice. You can raid us. Welcome, raiders. But we're working on web design. So thank you for the raid. Thank you for the raid, everybody. Thank you so much for the raid. I'm going to keep talking about this mystery. We're working on a mystery as to what is the actual value of line height and why it doesn't work. And we found out. Yeah, I'm not doing hacking today. We're doing boring web design or how to hack web pages. How about that? So thanks for the raid. There's fire in the background. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And welcome to the raiders. This is me using IRC. So 2020 glitchy. Welcome everybody. Welcome. It's good to see you. You caught us in the middle of doing a beginner boost, so I'm actually recording. You shall be saved for time and all eternity on YouTube as part of the beginner boost for learning web design, or AKA how to hack websites with Mr. Rob. CSS is more difficult than any programming language. Well, I mean, it is difficult. There's no doubt about it. And we're going to be going through that. But particularly how to do good CSS, right? Yeah. How's the day? The day's treating me pretty well. We are, again, as I said, we're doing a beginner boost video. This is one of my regular videos I've been doing. So I'm gonna proceed with that. Welcome streamer, welcome raiders. I really appreciate it. There's a lot of people here to watch this, so I'm gonna keep going with it. If you have any specific questions you want to hang out, please check me out any other time during the week other than beginner boost. Where unless you've got questions about web design, we're trying to stay on topic there a little bit. Okay. It's good to see you, Christy. Thank you for coming. InfoRoot, thank you. is trying to tell you to shut up and be nice. I kind of am. In the best way possible. I actually turned raids off for a while, and I felt like I was being so antisocial. So I did. I turned them off. I'm like, oh, I know that's not fun. That's not fun. So right now, here's the challenge. Okay, hackers. I can tell we got some hackers there. All right, hackers, tell me why this is different. All right, so here's the challenge. Okay, we're trying to use CSS right now. We got a little problem here, and it's kind of a problem on purpose to demonstrate a point. But so when you set the font size to 1 rem, first of all, how many of our hackers here know how many? What's the default size? You probably don't need to know this. What is the default size in pixels of the font for any web page? You probably don't care. You're just hacking the page. You don't care about its font size. But what is the default size? Well, here you can actually tell. If you set the line height to match the font size, which is 1 rem, you can see that it's 16 pixels by default. And that's kind of normal across the board. And that's interesting. But what does that do? Line height is bad because it's baseline to baseline. So it crams. Look at this. It totally overlaps the Y. See how busted that is? So Sharon shared with us. It sounds like she or he, they are a web designer. And 1.2. So 1.2 is apparently the default. But it's obviously not rems, because if it were rems, then when I do this, see how the headers change? The headers wouldn't be changing if it were rems. It's not. So they reminded me that it's 1.2 period, which is this factor, a scaling factor. And so what the scaling factor does is it says, you see what it does? It doesn't move anything except for this buggy history thing, which is a bug in Firefox probably. So that says that the default, or otherwise normal value, is 1.2. And because we put 1.2 here, we can confirm that the normal value, this is the browser styles. If you don't know about computed values in this and the filter right here, learn about it. Love it. It's fantastic for like finding out why stuff looks like the way it does on your web page when you can't make a program out. So then you turn on browser styles. You have to do that too. You want to have those lame, implicit browser styles activated, so you can go look at all those. All right, so what else we got? So we got line height, got the normal, but we have a problem here. I want to get to the bottom of why, when I use rems, there is a change in my height, because I don't like that. Why is rems should be consistent? The whole reason I picked rems is so that everything in my page would be consistent. It would be relative, but relative to the base font size, nothing more. And that's kind of, we talked about in other videos, we talked about with the whole community, we kind of agreed that is the default to do today, is to use rems, and including for media queries, which we haven't covered yet. So 1.2 rem. Why, when I turn off the rem, why do these things change, right? Now, my current hypothesis is that these things are actually back when we were doing, I have a feeling we were doing, I was demonstrating EM sizes and stuff. Yep, there we go. Look, see that? It's been turned off somehow. So we're going to look for the font size and see what is defining the font size here. So the font size is coming from the style sheet. Set it to, look, I am setting it to 2EM and HTML and CSS. And then I was demonstrating how it can be overridden by different things. In this particular case, the header is a different level. So it was 2EM. That means we probably have another EM in here somewhere. I'm guessing here. Yep, there she blows. So the problem with this resizing issue is because the H2 is set to be 1.5 EM by the default style sheet. No, never mind. That's actually being set inside of the inline styles down here, which I was messing around with to show people how you can do inline styles. So that's a problem, right? Watch. I bet you anything, if we change this to be 1.5 REM, I don't know if I can change it here. That's changed it. All right, wait. I think I changed it here. Which one is it? This one? No. Where are you? H2. All right. So this H2, we're going to click on the H2. We're going to inspect element on that, and the reason to do that is, well, I guess we can just click on it, is to zoom in on that. So now we have our body stuff, 1 rem. What's going on here? Why? Oh, wait, HTML body, inherited from body, element, inline. Where is this guy coming from then? Oh, we know what it is. We don't have any H2s identified. HTML.css. This must be the default browser sheet. But I thought I turned that off. Well, suffice it to say we need to change that. So let's do that. Let's make all the H2s. Let's make all the H2s. There we go. Let's make all the H2s in rem. Let's say they're all 1.5 rem font size. All you hackers know all about Inspect Element, right? I'm sure. You guys use it all the time, I'm sure. It recommends a value between, so it is browser dependent. It says it recommends, yeah. So let's try this. Let's do font size tab. And we're going to do 1.5 rem. All right, so this is kind of an experiment. So my hypothesis is now that everything is using rem, valid def, thanks for that, Tabatains. So my hypothesis is now that that has been changed, I can change the line height without as much impact. Okay, so this looks much better. You see how it's kind of a consistent change? Yeah. I used to get complete flags from tryhackme.com because it embeds them into the page. I know. Isn't that fun? You can't even get a hack the box account without knowing how to do Inspect Element and stuff. So we're going through learning web design, but some of the designers are probably, they're just being patient with me because I'm attacking this whole thing as from a kind of a cybersecurity guy's perspective. It's like, well, what's wrong with that? How come that works that way? I'm not just taking the book's word for it. I'm like messing with everything. If you ever play CodeCombat, by the way, I'm not going to tell you how, but you can get free stuff. You can get 6,000 gold piece dragon armor for $0 by changing some values using this, and then finishing the level, and it will save it. It's so dumb. So that's a little tidbit for our hackers out there who happen to come by on a raid. You can consider. I haven't told anybody else about that. I've told them that it existed, but I didn't tell them this specifics. But since we have raiders from an InfoSec group, I'm gonna tell you about that. Yeah. If you, I'll give you a couple more hints. So, 2 bonus points. If you right click on an item in CodeCombat, any item that you can see that's locked, it has to be locked. If you right click on any locked item and inspect element, you will find something in there that you can change. I'm not going to tell it to you. It wouldn't be any fun. It's very easy to find though. And if you change it and then just click off of it, all of a sudden the locked button will go to unlocked and you can equip it, and you have to finish the level. But if you finish the level, the software is too stupid to check that it hasn't been messed with, and it actually saves to the database that you earned and bought the item. And seriously, it can be like $6,000 gold dragon armor, and which would normally in dollars would cost you money. So I don't know if I should tell you about that, but the only reason I'm comfortable telling you about that hack is because they know about it, and it's been posted to their board, their Slack board, for over 4 years, and they still haven't fixed it. So I have no problem in fact, when they were asked point blank, how do you feel about this? Is it okay for me to tell people about it? They're like, well, it's a pretty small thing. Not that many people know about it, so we're just going to leave it. It's fine. That's the only reason I'm okay telling you that. Because if they otherwise I wouldn't tell you about it. They don't care. I know. Use Inspect Element to bypass the login prompt on Instagram so I can keep scrolling through people's. Yeah. Another thing you can do is my wife does this all the time. My wife posts Instagram all the time. You know what you do? Just change what type of device you have. She goes over here and changes her device, and you can use Instagram all day from a computer. It just has no different. It doesn't know any different. So those are web things that are fun, and this is all related to CSS. So the rem thing, less fun, but important. So there's still something changing here. I imagine it's because we have another EM in there somewhere, and I don't feel like rooting it out right now. Just so you know, that's why that's happening. So we have a line height change. So the standard size is 1.2, and by the way, the 1.2 is a scale which is obviously a relation to the current font size. So it's consistent. Doesn't mess stuff up. So yeah. Anyway, well, I'm not lazy, so yeah. Yeah, but the thing of it is okay, the CodeCombat thing, I'm just going to say it one more time. I'm not even going to put a topic in about this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to put fun, how about this? Fun with CodeCombat. Inspect Element. I mean, maybe they'll change something about it. I've been telling them they need to forever. RVXGG. It's all written in CoffeeScript, by the way. Does anybody here remember CoffeeScript? Yeah. Okay. So, I'm just gonna at this point in the video. If you've just come here to this point in the video to learn about the fun with CodeCombat, I want you to rewind at this point in the video, and I'm just gonna move on. But you can go ahead and rewind the last 5 or 10 minutes, and you can find what's going on with that. And actually, I will change. Well, I'll get it later. So that's the thing. Let's go back to the book. So in the book, it was about the last 5 or 10 minutes. So just don't go back too far. Back to the book. So we've been playing around with rem and types, but we are going way too slow through this thing because I'm having fun in my way. We've been learning about line height. So line height just keeps the baseline to baseline, keeps it all lined up. We got raided, by the way. So by hackers, I wanted to make it fun for them. So indents. You can do textual indents, so you can make your paragraphs indent. And here's going to show you how to do that. You can do the 2EM indent. I don't particularly like indents. I don't particularly like these kinds, so I don't use that a lot of times, but you can do it. I told you we're going to go through CSS pretty damn fast because there's so much stuff here. Horizontal tab alignment. You can do horizontal tab alignment. I don't use tabs at all for that kind of stuff, but if you wanted to, you can set that up. This is important though. Text align is super important, and I'm going to show you how to use text align to hack a responsive site without doing all of the crazy, more difficult CSS. Okay, I actually want to show you this. So if let me go find a few pictures. I'm going to show you how to use a text align hack. So left, right, center, justified, right. So let's say you just want, you don't want to get into the more serious CSS and you have a bunch of pictures or something and you want them to center align, or you want to be able to, go back and forth with something like that. So let's find, let's pull down a smaller picture. I could probably just have Torvald's face everywhere. Should we do that? Let's do that. So I'm going to go back to, where's my code? Where is the code? I'm going to write some more codes. And where is it? Here we go. So let's get into Linux and let's do Linux small. I mean, we're gonna really cheat here. So we're gonna take Torvald's head here. We're gonna shrink him down. And we're gonna do lots of them. All right. Actually, no. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's make the width only like about 20, and we'll get rid of height completely. Let me make sure this is the right size first. So save. And because of our server that we wrote in Golang, so hackers out there, go learn some Go, right? Make a web server. It's fun. You can go back. I got a video on that if you want to go watch it. And we should have a tiny Linux there. Yeah, now we do. I mean, it's like you would never do that because it's a huge image, a waste of bandwidth. But still, let's do this. We're going to make lots of them. Lots of them. Does anybody know how to repeat a paste multiple times in VI? Oh, I need to turn my screen key on. Yeah, there we go. Guys, anybody know? Anybody? Bueller? How do I do this? Yank. And now how do I paste it 20 times? Tw 20p for the win, Christy. Good job. 20p. Boom. There we are. All right. All right. You win the prize. I'm going to have points one of these days. I've been working on it. I'm going to have points. I'm going to be giving out cool points, and then you get like a fancy thing on your IRC or something. I don't know. I want to stay in IRC. That's so much more fun. So now what? I save that, go back to the site, and refresh, and we get lots of Linuxes. Linux. Every time I ask, how do you pronounce Linux? Is it Linux or is it Linux? And it's like, well, his name is Linus. I'm like, well, you mean like Charlie Brown's friend, Linus? And everybody's like, well, that should be Linux then. And I'm like, no, it's not Linux. I said, why isn't it? Because he's Finnish, and in Finland they say Linus. And I'm like, oh, so that's why they call it Linux. Yeah, that's why. True story. All right, so there we go. We got sort of a responsive thing, right? All right. But you know why it's responsive? Because it's not the default, and I already did it. All right. So let me show you something else. So here we go. I wish I get time to get into Vim. Oh, you can. I know. It's hard. It is hard. I mean, VS Code's not bad. You know, I'm not going to... I wouldn't use it again, but I have different goals and priorities. Editors are a very personal thing, and, you know, that's up to you. So, yeah. Yeah, JetBrains of all the editors, yeah, I think JetBrains is one of the better ones. I agree. I think I would probably give JetBrains a try over VS Code. I used VS Code for a year, made a video about it, just to give it a true shot, and it just got too bloated for me. You know, and my style is very sysadmin-y, you know, at SRE cyber guy. I'm in it. People ask me all the time, why do you keep exiting your files? It's driving me crazy. Stay in your file and then go to the terminal. You shouldn't be closing your files every time. Well, that's how I was trained. You know, it's in and out of a file in a second or two or less with VI. That's my style. Vim is like redacted. Hurts the first, but then you get used to it. Yeah. Oh, I have such a good follow-up inappropriate joke to that I cannot repeat. VMT, you have to bring that up again. Perspicacious. Perspicacious. It's very perspicacious. This is our word of the week, thanks to VMT. Hey, I'm taking a side break. So VMT, you know what we can name it, the short version of it? Percy. Yeah, Percy dot, whatever. We're going to do that. In case anybody's wondering, I've been writing... Perspicacious Percy. We're gonna call it Percy. It's your fault, man. Your fault. They created a great word for us. Anyway, the reason that this is doing this responsive-y kind of like is because, okay, what do Linus's face here? What does all these Linus's 20 of these Linus's faces have in common with letters? The answer is everything. Because they are letters. As far as the web browser is concerned right now, Cypress perhaps. Ooh. We need to go get that. Percy. Plus it's like Percy Jackson. It's got all kinds of references, you know. And if you do the short version, it's just P. So it's, you know, P space whatever. And we're talking about something else. We're working on a knowledge manager project, and we were playing around with a really great human computer interface that processes the command line using regular expressions. Yeah, Thomas the Train's friend Percy. I know, there's like so many Percy references. So that's a different thing. All right, so look at this. Linus's face, Mr. Torvald's face is just a letter. It does the same thing that letters do. That's called an inline dash block display type. But that is not the default for a picture. What's the default for a picture? The default type for a picture, oh, there he is block. And I'm going to go back and change it. I changed it already. I realized kind of late here that I had already changed this in order to resize the picture because it's a little bit harder to do and it's still block type. So I'm pretty sure. Let me go check. We got to go back and check the assets here. Check our style sheet. Style. We're looking for the IMG stuff. All right, here we go. Yep. There. Oh wait, I didn't change it. What's going on here? I don't know. I have to go look. More research. Must do more research. So we've got inspect element. Let's inspect element on this. I do that because it jumps right to it. Oh, look at the white space. See this thing here? That's a very much a Firefox thing. Chrome doesn't do that. I think it was 20. Max width, height equals auto. It's inline block by default. Is it inline block by default? I thought it was block. Thanks, Sharon. Let's go. Well, let's find out. So display. You're right again. Oh. Did I change it to inline? I thought it was inline. I didn't think it was inline block. I mean, look at that one. That looks like, where's it getting it from? All right, so I don't know about that one, Sharon. Am I saying your name right, by the way? I think, man, I think it's inline. Yep. I thought it was blocked by default, so we're both wrong. It's all right. They don't even know what that is yet, so we're gonna get onto that. So, spoiler alert. Okay, so every single thing in your web page has a display type, and that governs how it gets displayed. Duh. And inline means it gets treated like a letter. So all the letters by default are inline. And everything on your web page is a box in some way. Every single thing. Even if it's a round thing, it's a box around the round thing. So you can think of everything like a bunch of those things all together. And in fact, that gets represented when you start, inspecting on all kinds of stuff, right? When you inspect here, inspect element, you can start, see, look there, see that right there? Here we go. See, it tells you all the different things, all the different blocks that are in here. Anyway, and inline block, I thought, was the default. I'd be curious to see if it's different in Chrome. I don't know that for sure, but the only thing I was trying to tell you about this is it's what we're talking about, text align, right? So with text align will left justify, right justify, center based on what it is. So if I take this, let's do a paragraph first. So if I take this paragraph, right click paragraph, inspect element. So now we have the whole paragraph, right? And go over here and we got our paragraph here. Oh, that's interesting. Let's split it right after. Oh, that's because we put this. That's interesting. We were playing around with our own inline elements, which you can do, but it's not fully supported everywhere. So anyway, so this is supposed to be the whole paragraph. Okay, it is. So this paragraph, let's change it. All right, so let's change paragraph. It's always fun to do that, right? We could add an inline. Inline means it's an element. When it says inline like that, that means that the style is assumed to be up here, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to say style equals text, tab align, and wow, look at all these fun things. Let's try this one. Let's do justify. Justify my love. Nobody gets that reference, right? It's ancient. Who sang Justify My Love? I'm pretty random. I'm pretty damn random. Just get used to it. Everybody does. Everybody? Oh, I'm sure there's some babies out there that don't know about it. By the way, that's an affectionate term invented by another member of our Ashern. Okay. There's another reference. Grandpas and babies. That's sort of a meme term here. Every HTML writer knows images flow by default. Every HTML writer knows images flow by default. Sheesh. Do they really? No, I was writing HTML before you were born, and they didn't flow by default at that time. So there you go, Mr. Discord user. So here we go. We have justify here, and it puts the justify there. Sometimes though, let me compare it. Well, I tell you what, let's wait until we get to divs and we can turn divs into different things, and we can make divs flow just like images, right? Oh, there you go. Well, then you remember that these do this thing. And I've said from the very beginning, I'm not a web developer, even though I was Nike's webmaster and developed for years professionally. I forget things. All right, so here we go. justify. So this is justified. We can put this here, and then over here we can say, if you change it to do, well, this is what I want to show you. So you can actually make all of these pictures do the same thing. The whole point of using text-align to do this trick is that you can actually use text-align to do responsive centering of things that normally would not be responsively centered by default. And let's just to make the point, why don't I use something that is block by default? And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that divs are default by default. So let's go ahead and add a div in here, and we'll do that. So let's add a div. We'll go up here and add a div. And display flex and grid are tingling hard. We're going to get to display flex and grid. I actually did rwx.rob.live is CSS grid in its simplest form. I love it. I really love CSS grid and flex. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do a div. Let's do a div, and let's say I'm a div. All right, and let's see what the default for this div is, and we'll say what's it called, a div, just a div, if I could type. So just a div, and we'll reload that. Lost my chat there. There we go. Reload. So there's a div, right? So let's right click on the div. We covered divs a long time ago, so I'm not gonna go back into them, but you can actually make divs behave. There's one. All right, so I'm pretty sure I got confused between images and divs, because a lot of times I'll have images that are in divs that are combined with a little bit of text or something, and then they stop behaving like as we've been reminded, these responsive images that wrap automatically, right? This div, if you had 2 or 3 divs, it wouldn't do that. So let's actually, in order to get to see this, let's resize the div and put some color in it, okay? And this is where text-align is going to come in. We're kind of jumping ahead on a bunch of things, but we're talking about text-align. I just wanted to show you a hack that a lot of professional developers will tell you not to do, but if you're just trying to get stuff to work right and you don't want to do all of the stuff for grid or any of the other ways to get your stuff to line up, a lot of times just setting display block to inline block, display to inline block, and then just using text-align can really save you a lot of time. True and tried and true professional CSS developers will tell you, oh my god, why are you saying that? I'm just telling you a way to get it to work quickly and to get really quick responsive design out of a div. So another thing, and it's under text-align, that's why I have to do this. So let's do a couple of these. Let's change it, make it a class. Class, just a div. I'm a div. And we'll do 5 pastes and do 5, and we'll get a few more of those. Actually, let's add a whole bunch of them, shall we? Yeah, let's add another 10 of them. Should we? There, 10 of those. And it's really not useful until we set the size on it and stuff. So I have all these divs. All right, so you see how they all, this is what I wanted to show you. When you have type block, and honestly, I forgot that pictures were inline by default and not block by default. So because I've been playing with divs lately a lot. So it makes me wonder what span is. I'm pretty sure span is inline by default, right? Yeah, let's do this. This is a good recap of the stuff we covered earlier too, and plus it's just fun. So I'm all for that. Let's do a span. Span, just a span. Let's put a bunch of spans together. Just a span. I'm a span. Span. Let's do 30p. There we go. And now we have lots of stuff on the screen. I'm a span. So, all of this argumenting that we're having right now and figuring out stuff is, to those of you who are just learning, hopefully that will be good for you, because now you can see what's up. So a span, the significant difference between span and div, of course, is the span just is a block type. I'm sorry, is an inline type. Let's do this. Inspect element. There you go. Inline. That doesn't lie. It's an inline type, just like images we just found out. So spans and images and letters and words are all in index, italics, and span and strong and all that. They're all inline type. That means they go left to right. And by the way, that's usually left to right. You can actually change the order. So if you're working in another foreign language, you can change the direction. Even you can go up and down. So they're just meant to be inline and to do that whole thing, right? So, but if you use by default, a div is a block type, which means that it has totally different positioning. And I'm not even going to talk to you about how hard it used to be to do clean block layout because you'd have to clear it and all that stuff. You don't have to think about any of that now with Flex and with Flex Grid and Span. I mean, with Flex Grid and CSS Grid, with CSS Grid and Flexbox. And so, but what if you want your divs to behave and to center like all these pictures are like even a letter, right? So what if we wanted this to center? So right now everything is justifying, but let's do that. So you can actually change div, and we'll do that in the style. Oops. So we're gonna actually go in and change div to, I mean, you guys know what I'm gonna do. It's really nothing fancy here. So we're gonna change our styles for, not for the image, but for where is it? Nope, that's not it. Where is it? Oh, it's a new one, right? So it's just a span. So let's do that. So justice, yeah, it is new. All right. So class. So what's the first letter for a class? I mean, you guys know this, right? Or the first character is the dot. So class, just a span, just a div. And let's actually make them look like boxes, shall we? Let's make all the just divs be height about 3 rem. We're not learning web development. We're just working through the book. We're working through this book. I've done web development professionally for years and moved on to back-end stuff, but I feel like I needed to go through web development to give people a complete idea of what to do as a beginner, and this is the book that's most commonly worked through. I've been working through this book for 6 years or so with different people that I help mentor. But I thought I'd just do it online so that you guys could see and have a basis of it. All right, so here we go. We've got let's keep this out here. Actually, it's not going to show until we do a refresh, so let's do that. So height and width is 3 rem. That'll make it. Let's give it a color. Actually, background chartreuse. Everybody loves chartreuse. Oh man, I get the color wrong. I always spell it wrong. I'm gonna keep that color. I just have to spell it right. Inspect element. Stay the hell away from Perl. Says somebody who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. The most powerful shell scripting language on the planet. Okay. Sorry, had to. Perhaps I need something less mathy. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know why Perl is the most powerful language, show me Unicode matches and regular expressions. Sorry, that was a justified F swear word in my beginner boost. The only one you will hear. It is not. It is objectively inferior. We're not having that fight right now. Save that fight for another day. We are going to, you know what? I'm going to write a book. I just put in my book titles. Kick-Ass Perl, the most powerful command line shell scripting on planet Earth. Yeah, show me. You can't even use Python on half the systems because it's not installed. Yeah, we're gonna learn it. You just don't use Perl as an enterprise scripting language. You use it as the shell scripting language it's designed to be. And if you do, it has the best one-liners in planet Earth. All right, there, we're done. Sorry for that, but somebody shots fired against one of my favorite languages of all time. I actually made a whole video on it. If you go watch my video on Perl, so since we got derailed completely by our chat, which I promised myself I wouldn't do, but oh well. Vids Perl. Go watch that video and then come back and talk to me. All right. Another thing you could do is wait. README. Whoop. RVX. Let's see. UG. Yep. README. I don't know. It's like RVX.gg. Advice. Don't Perl hate. There. Done. I've done my due diligence. Now be quiet. And thank you for coming. Yeah. So anyway, you show me any task and I will show you something that can be done easier and better in Perl. Unless it's enterprisey and you're doing automation and Ansible and that kind of stuff, which belongs in Perl. Python's a great language too for that. All right. I'm just a div. I'm only a div. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. What is this div going to do? This div is going to be, we're going to change its type. We have to make an element. You know what? I'm just going to do it in here and show you. So if I, let's not do that. Let's add a full-blown class. And we're going to do just a div. And let's kind of say just a div, and we're going to give it the type. This is really what I was doing. And I want to get back to the book because I want to get through the book. So I want to fight about Perl. That's what I want to do. All right. So let's do display. And right now, as you can see, it's a block. So we already did that. We already established that. So, whoops, sorry. Display, colon. And we're going to make it inline like everything else. Boom. All right. So now div acts like span. No surprise there, right? Well, why does that matter? Because now you can do other things like you can text align. Now you need to put that in the body. It needs to be in the container. It can't be in the thing itself because it is just like a letter, right? When it's inline. So you can go to the HTML. You can go over here and click on here. And we can add text. You can text align the whole page, right? Text align center. All right. So there you go. You got text align center. Good to go. And you're good to go. There you go. That's it. That was all. That's all I really wanted to tell you about text align. Text align can be used to trick things though. And so if you have a div that's got, you know, a height and width in it, or you're having trouble with your divs. People, when they first start and they start working with divs because they're trying to position like different readable sections of their page and stuff like that. The fact that they default to block is always really annoying. And it can hurt people, and then they usually reach for some way to lay out their divs. And as soon as they're starting to do that, then they're looking for CSS grid. But one of the ways to also do that is to change your div type to inline or inline block, either one, and then make it to make the container just text align, and then it will treat it as. But it sometimes it's considered, you know, a hack because you basically turned everything into text, including big old images and sections, divs that contain images and text and everything. And then they just all align properly when you resize, and that's the essence of responsive design, right? So, so that's what's up. Anyway, let's go back. So let's go back to what do you guys to say about that? Anybody else? Open source projects can go. No, I have a lot of them if you want to contribute to mine. Programming languages and low level stuff. Just stay tuned, FTW, Sid. I mean, you know, I've been doing a lot of that stuff. I have several projects you can contribute to, including Pagan, KEG, the Knowledge Exchange Grid, the Knowledge Node utility is all in Go if you want to help with that. And we need a bunch of plugins written. So I have a bunch of stuff if you want to help to learn more. Absolutely. And I actually just recently wrote about that in the log about some of the best projects to go. You go rdbx.gg/lang, L-A-N-G/cha, S-H-A, as the beginning of several of my mini projects. I have a bunch of others that have to be ported over, about 40 of them. If you want to just write those projects in your language to get yourself going as a programmer, that'd be good to go. Depends on the case, but I prefer inline block over inline so I can use things like max width and stuff. Yep. Inline block, yeah. This inline block not used with max width. That's why info. You know what? IFO hands. I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think I ever put that together. Because my standard response is change your div to inline block so I can make them resize and so that I can make them line up with text align. That's been my go-to thing for a long time. In fact, I was kind of hesitant to do all of the different layout things and stuff because I felt like they were unnecessary for most of the stuff I want to do. And then CSS Grid came along and just made it really easy. And so I started to use that instead. And I don't need to use inline block for that at all. That transition is not necessary. Although it does, block allows you to resize and stuff like that. Change div to inline block. I used to change to inline, but it doesn't accept width and stuff. Great. I'm glad that somebody else out there has been using my little hack. It makes me feel better. Because I get beat up by, professional CSS developers who do that thing all day, which I am not. And I've told you guys that. So, but stuff to learn here. Maybe somebody doesn't know what justify is. I doubt it. If you've used any kind of word processor at all, you know what justify, center, left, and right are. Let's keep going. So underlining and other decorators. Why do you care? So underlining only becomes important if you want to start doing fancy things that deal, this is the problem with underlying. I'm just going to tell you right now. The problem with underlying, and the reason that designers hate this, is because it's ugly. See that? It chops off. It's very rare to see people keep underlining, although underlining has gotten better in recent browser editions, and I want to actually check this. Let's do this. So there's an underline. Let's do some underline that's got some stuff that descends below the baseline. Let's actually try this. So I'm going to add a style to this. Again, I'm trying to give context to the book. You can read the book. I don't have to help you with that. You can get, the book in any number of ways. So let's do text decoration underline. And it looks like that applied it to all paragraphs. But so you see this? This is a relatively new change. You see how it sort of does not override the G and the P and the things that descend, which have a name that I can't remember right now. So underline is actually not as ugly as it used to be in browsers these days. Underline used to look at that comma right there, right? Look at that comma. Look at this here. Look at this P. See that I have a space? It's actually bearable to read underline. And the reason I'm telling you this, particularly look at this Y right here. In the old days, this is within the books. This is what the books, really like hardcore designers hate underline because underline would do this. It would totally obliterate, the appearance. And so they wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't do it. And so what they would do instead, and you'll find this in Wired Magazine has it, a bunch of others, they will push a line, and they'll create a box out of it, use border and padding for links instead of underline. Yeah. And that's fine as long as, guys, this is one of the reasons I use this book. Do not do things that colorblind people can't see. I am a staunch advocate for visual indicators of hypertext and not just color changes. Color changes are imperceptible to people like my stepson who have color blindness. And if you stick with that, you may be in violation of the law. Because depending on who you work for, if it's a corporation that's getting government money, your website needs to be accessible, which means you'll end up losing lawsuits like Pizza Hut did because you've made a site that blind and colorblind people cannot use. So I just want to put that out there. The main reason I'm sticking with this book is because Jen is a big advocate of accessibility, and I am too. And so I just want to make sure. So I believe personally, and so does Wired Magazine and a bunch of others, that having a visual indication of a potential hyperlink is super important. You need to check. Hello, hey, here, good time. You definitely need to make sure that you are testing how your site looks. That means if you choose to use color as your distinguishing factor instead of like a decoration like this, please make sure that you check it in different high contrast browsers, or you have it, have somebody who does accessibility test it. I never ever depend on color for, not semantics, but for, UX distinctions between things. So my favorite hack, and I mean, you can disagree with it, but I'm just going to share it with you. I'm very much a text guy. My favorite way to do this, and my sites are really, really bare bones. As you guys know, I prefer text and minimal sites, and that's just my style. I'm not against other styles. It's just, but I'm showing you this just because I want to show you this approach. So when you're using underline, by the way, see these? This is not underlined text decoration. I'm actually considering changing this. Speaking of web accessibility, I recently learned something that is obvious that no one thought of. Screen readers tell you a list is a list and how many items it has. If you remove the list styling and a person without visual impairment doesn't need to care that it's a list, why should a visual impaired person do that? If you just want to list some information, don't use a list. Interesting. It's true. It's true, right? It's like item 1, item 2. Yeah, there's a lot of things. So the reason, again, that I stick with this book is because this is from the very first few chapters. She constantly talks about these things. So let me just give you an idea. I just wanted to show you this because this is an example. This is an old site. Relatively speaking, this is using an old design technique. I do have a contrast with hover over like this, right? But I use an underline that's got, it's grayed out a little bit so it doesn't distract. The other thing I really hate about really seriously hyperlinked documents, which I think you should do. I like hyperlinks. That's why they were invented, to save time. Humans think in terms of hyperlinking to other things. They don't want to be linear usually. And so that's a good thing. You should use links. But if you put a lot of links in your content and you also have really, really, overbearing design, it just distracts from being able to read the thing. And that's why you find people that have almost invisible links. I personally follow another technique where it's learning web design from Jen Robbins is the name of the book. And I follow another technique in order to distinguish external links. As a user of websites, I hate being linked off to another site when I don't have to be. And particularly since this is going to be implemented as a progressive web app eventually, which means that somebody might be accessing my content offline entirely. And so I've chosen to make links distinguished by, these are actually called, these are at Guimays, I think. Jen Simmons recommended it to you directly? Well, yeah. She wrote the foreword for it. Yeah, Jen Simmons wrote the foreword for it. So I would imagine she would recommend it. Yeah, the Gens are really great, and I've never met them. They're from my generation. They were coding on websites same time as me, same time as our opinionated Discord friend. It sounds like as well. So yeah, Astro on Twitter, right? Reading front end again. Yeah. The problem. Look, this I'm going through the book, and the reason I'm going through the book is because a lot of people have asked me about it. I recommended it to lots of people, but the book is really out of date. And it's missing some techniques in it. The real core important things it still has, for example, CSS Grid, but some of the more technical aspects of it, where she goes into talking about what technology to use and things like that. So if you really want to sit through all 40 or 50 hours of my work through of this book, this is what I'm trying to address. I'm trying to address those questions. So yeah, and one of the techniques here is, and I'm all about web design for communication. So we talked about that in the first few things that we did. We talked about web design and development for applications versus web design and development for documents, and making sure mentally at least that you keep those two separate as you're doing your design, so you don't mix the two and end up making a site that's got documentation that can't be web archived because it's dependent on JavaScript unnecessarily. This has been a fundamental tenet throughout this whole series as I've been doing this work through. And so back to the specifics about style. I'm going to present several styles related to underlying and let you make the decision. So one of the ideas, you saw the ugly underlining text decoration, the reason that people rejected this. Most designers rejected this for years. That has improved. And frankly, I'm looking at my website going, I need to probably reconsider doing an underlying text. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. Inspect element. Let's go see what that would look like if I changed it to do text decoration underline. Right now, text decoration is off. I have texture decorations off because a hack that CSS people use for a long time, they would turn off the normal hyperlink underlines by disabling text decoration, and then they would draw a line. They'd turn that thing into a block, and then they would draw a line on the bottom of the block, which has several disadvantages. The most important being that it can't span a line return very well. And so I'm actually considering changing it back right now. I'm looking at this right now. So it's possible that we could put text decoration to solid. Actually, no, let's do underline. And there you go. So let's zoom in on that. What do you think, guys? Which one do you like better? See, I think I can almost get away with that. I wonder if I can do dotted for this. I don't know. You like the dots? Yeah, I'm wondering if I can do dotted. I think I can do dotted in the style. I think. Yep, there it is. See that? And I think you can change the color. I don't know, though. I don't know. Oh, here we go. That's right. That's what I want. I want this. Wait, what's this other color? I have it. It says, I have it right here. It's border. Oh, there it is. It's var high-low. I already have it set as a variable. Yay, team. Copy. I'm going to put that up here. So I'm just sampling some stuff here. Bear with me. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to change this. Damn it. Why can't I change you? Why can I not change you? Well, text decoration dash color. This is another reason that I like explicit settings. Let's do this. So text decoration dash style. Some people don't like that because it's too verbose. Underline. Oh wait, no. Text decoration. Let's see. What's my options here? Oh, dotted. Okay. Text decoration line. I don't know. Underline. There we go. Text decoration. I don't know if you can. That's the reason for using border, right? So we're going to find out. Text decoration. No, let's do text decoration. What? Dash. Ooh, skip ink. I've never seen that before. Thickness. I never seen that before. I'm sorry, this is a little bit painful to watch, I know, but text decoration line, text decoration style we have is dotted already. Decoration thickness, and then what? Then we have thickness. Let's do colon. Oh, come on, I don't really like this interface. I won't lie. Let's do point. Let's do pixels. I know, 2 pixels. Oh, look at that. Look at that. And I can turn the border thing off. Ooh. I don't know, man. Which one do you like better? I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ready to switch over yet. You know what I mean? But it's pretty damn close. The thing of it is that look at the dots don't look as pretty because the line's not consistent, right? It's like got a few of those dots are cut in half, and that's like, we can't have that. We can't have that. So, but gosh, that's getting pretty dang close to what we would need. The reason I'm showing you this is because nobody uses it. It's very rare to find. This is normally what's used, and even this is annoying because you see how mine is like right up against it. I mean, if you push it down a little bit too far, you can get to the point where it gets so ugly because it's like no longer associated with the document anymore, right? And I mean, there's lots of mixed thought on that. You can actually do this so that it does a little overlap a little bit. And Wired Magazine has a method that I kind of like. That it actually, when you hover over it, it will show you. We have to find an actual article that we can read. And they have a style that's it's kind of nice. No, I don't want that. Come on, give me a link. They don't link out very often though, because it's bad for SEO to outlink. No, look at that. They went back to underlines for that one. That's just a plain old hyperlink. There we go. Oh, look at that. They're doing both things on that. They're both underlining it and they're underlining it. You know what? I think they changed their style. They did. What? Wired changed their style. Yep. Wire used to have a style where they had a link. If you hovered over it, it would animate and it would draw over the thing. I have a feeling that I've noticed that all those effects and stuff, particularly hover and stuff like that, they don't work with mobile phones. And since, according to Can I Use, let's see the percentage where it is today, shall we? So, as of today, 37.51%. Okay, it's still high. Plus that, 37 plus 52, 60-ish percent. Since 37.5% use Chrome on Android, over 50% of the internet is browsed from a phone. And there's and specifically Chrome. The Safari stuff, you can't distinguish it from being mobile or not. I imagine a lot of it is. This Chrome is not for Androids, but a significant portion is browsed through the. Then you might not care about all that animated linkage and stuff. So anyway, I was hoping to give you an example of good links that are. No, they've changed it. This is super interesting. That means they changed their design. The designers at Wired changed their design to use plain old underline. Look at that. That's just underlined text. That might be good enough for me at some point. Maybe I can abandon my fancy dots. People tend to like my dots, but because it makes them kind of look like buttons. But again, it can get kind of distracting. I do really like that. It's not even original. I like the technique of putting guillemets around stuff that go outbound, or creating some other way. And you can do this fancy trick by using the assigning the style to the beginning and to the end of a particular span or type. I just want to make a top-level domain where it is expected JavaScript to be off so we can design lightweight, fast information sites. Please stay tuned. I'm making that. We are making that. It's called the Knowledge Exchange Grid. It's entirely based off of Markdown and YAML and JSON. That's it. And we'll have a Chrome browser that can browse any web without any HTML. And it has built-in semantic searching that can be controlled, and you can subscribe to each other so that it's a decentralized, federated knowledge exchange grid or graph that can have no basis on Google or anything. If you want to be a part of that movement, please stay. By the end of the year, we're going to have about 100 people on the knowledge exchange grid. So say thank you for that. So if you want to be a part of the revolution that is the knowledge exchange grid and join github.com/AFKWorks. It's the Association for Federated Knowledge Workers, where we are reimagining. There's a lot of people reimagining the web right now. Distro2 did a thing on Gemini recently. He's been talking about Gopher before. Tim Berners-Lee has been working on his thing, and we have our thing. And I'll drop that link. Yeah. We're just, there's two critical links. I've been thinking about this thing for some time. It's one of the reasons I want to get off web design. I want to start pushing the new knowledge exchange grid that has no HTML in it at all. I think HTML was a bad idea, and I wrote a blog in Medium that said so. It got really popular. So github.com/AFKWorks. If you want to get some of the seminal ideas that have been around since 2014 when we started it, some of the original ideas were something called the Essential Web. And those are two places you can go to read about that if you want to follow along with that. I'm always going to plug that stuff because I actively want to get off of the current web. We can leverage the infrastructure of the existing web, but it has a lot of problems. And here I am talking about learning web design, right? Go figure. We're still going to have styles and stuff, but we don't, it's emphasizing information in kind of the same sense that Medium has brought to the table. Even though they put a paywall up, and Medium's got everyone paying money to use the original World Wide Web that doesn't let you do bulleted lists or styles or anything. It's like the biggest con in history. No, not history, but anyway. Back to the book. We're going to scream through this. So underline the designs. We only got we got an hour left, an hour and a half or so left. Underlines, you know what to do here. There's line through, there's overline, text expiration, overline. If you, by the way, if you use, which one is it? Is it, I get it wrong every time. One of them is delete. What is the standard one? Is it delete or is it, I forget it. There is an HTML tag element, that will do this by default, but I don't know if you want to use it or not. You can use that. So those are all things you can control. We're going to go faster through this. I want to go faster because I want to get through it because I want to do the knowledge exchange grid. So you can set capitalization, lowercase, uppercase, all of that. I found, however, this is some interesting things. Did I do this last week? I did mixed case last week, right? Yeah, we did. We did small caps. Last time we used small caps. Small caps is an element. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. What am I talking about? Small caps. Anyway, last week we did small caps and found out that it uses capitals, but it still maintains capitalization by making a bigger capital, which is different than changing capitalization using that. So that's the only comment I have for that. And there's a reason you might want to do that, right? So actually, let me show you what that means. So it's too bad they don't refer to that right here. They really should have, because it's related to capitalization. So here's all the other capitalization, capitalized, lowercase, blah, but this doesn't show you small caps. So if you do small, I don't know why these are not related. Let me take one actually. Let's take this one here, inspect element, and let's make that into small caps. So we're going to do a thing here, and I believe it's text. It's not decoration. It's not emphasis. It's not anchor. It's not justify. It's not transform. Oh, it's font. That's right. It was font because we covered font last week. It's font variant. Font variant. Yeah, font variant. So font variant colon small caps. You see that? Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Become an autodidact. In fact, we did this on after we did this last week. Now I'm remembering. My memory's coming back. Artifacts with Rob Live is my little one here. We did it. So this is actually, we were messing around with this last week, and I decided to keep it because it was so cool. So this is small caps font variant. And I had not used font variant before ever. So we were going through it. So, you know, there's value in going through it. And so this is the thing. And so anyway, that goes along with the whole capitalization conversation, right? So that kind of belongs here. Because this is all uppercase, and this is small as font variant. What is it? I forget the name. All caps. Small caps, whatever. There you go. Let's go down. Spaced out. How many pages are there? 291. Spaced out. Letter spacing, word spacing, blah blah blah. This is interesting, but I don't know if it's as interesting. Let's try it. So let's change our spacing on our body. Where's the body? Where is the body? I'm using variables here. Body, body, body. Body, 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 body. Word. I've never used word spacing. I've used kerning and stuff, but how about to rem? Ooh, that's kind of fun. You guys are experimenting too, right? Much more fun when you like experiment on something that you've been working on. 1.2. Wow. All right. So what is the other one? Letter spacing. Let's see that. Letter spacing, which we tried that the other week and it doesn't work. It's not kerning. It's different than kerning. We didn't talk about that, but kerning is a typographical term. If you know about kerning, it's kerning like fonts in Adobe is a fun thing to do. Letter spacing. God damn it! If I could just type. I hate graphic interfaces. I should probably. letter spacing colon. 0.1 rem. Wow. All right. Well, it definitely changed everything. Not keeping that, but kind of cool. I mean, it's not horrible. It's not horrible, right? All right. So let's go read some more. Encode kerning information CSS. It's just more spacing. Yeah. Yeah. Kerning doesn't come into the picture until you're using something like Inkscape or Adobe, right? And then at that point, when you're like making logos, you need to pay attention to kerning stuff. Yeah, that's how I made my soil logo. I like logos. Anyway, spaced out. There you go. Let's get on with it. On with the show. Now, text shadow. Boy, you want to make your site look really 1980s. Put a bunch of text shadow on there. Seriously. I put a bunch of text shadow and blink. Text shadow. What is in the options here? See, and this is one of the ones that has like lots of options, right? Ooh, 2.m. I want fuchsia. How about that? They have EM. I don't want EM. Okay, I guess I don't know. Maybe that is a relevant time to do EM because it's relative to the thing it's associated with, right? Maybe so. I don't know. Let's do 1.2 rem. 1.2 rem. I think that's the offset, right? Oh my god. And we'll do. How about dark? Oh god. Oh my god. Obviously it's too much. It's not even a shadow. It's like completely something different. Oh wow. MS Word fashionable documents from the 90s. That was not too bad. I kind of like the green in the background on that one. That's not horrible. I mean, it's only kind of horrible. It's much more acceptable than I would have guessed. I mean, it's fun, you know. It's not bad. It's like I don't know. I'd probably look at it the next day and go, "Oh my gosh, what was I thinking?" It's that kind of change. So I can't promise I'm going to keep that change. That's like not a thing. So yeah. What's next? Now at least we used it. All right. Text shadow. Can I make it? I want to make it fade. I want it to blur. An optional blur radius. There is a blur radius. We need to make the blur radius like bigger. I want a bigger blur radius. Add a third REM value for blur effect. Oh, it is a third value. Is it a third value? Okay. Well, there you go. Let's do that. All right, here we go. Let's do 0.1 rem for blur. Is that a thing? Wow. Ooh, it's like now it's kind of like subtle. I know. Let's make it like really blurry, shall we? 5. Oh, now it's like glowing. Can I make it like? Oh, you know what we should do? We should like get rid of the offset. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get rid of the offset, and then it'll be like make my stuff glow. Ooh, I don't even know if this is a thing. I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. So 0, 0. Oh, now we have some nice glow going on. Wow, I might have to keep that. It's kind of disturbing. What does cyan look like? Ooh, we have to do it. I think it would work for your tag RDX live. Yeah, it would. It definitely would. Yeah, you got a good point there. All this stuff might actually, it's a very Tron vibe. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Let's do that. Have my beginner boost do my own coding for me. It is kind of dope. I didn't even, I think for up here, it definitely could be there. So let's do that. Let's redo this. Fun with fonts. I know fonts are fun. You can do so much with just fonts without adding images or anything. And CSS animation, right? You don't have to like add a bunch of stuff. So inspect element on this. You know what we could do for our JavaScript? We can make it go. We can make it pulse. Did you saw my SVG that pulses, right? It pulses and does all that fun thing. GeoCities T. Yeah, it is pretty cool. Let's do that. Wait. H1. Let's add it here. Spy, the biggest spy font of all. Let's do this. Oh wow. You know what we need we need to do, this is super easy to code with JavaScript. So when we get to JavaScript, we'll do that. The question is, what color should it be? You know what? We should be able to make it so you can change. So if you click on it, you can change what the color is. Yeah. Like if you click on it, it pops in like a color picker and you can change your color. So yeah, you can be like, what color do you want here? Which color would you like? Let's see, which color would you like? How about over here? Ooh, how about that? Ooh, yeah. You missed GeoCities. Oh, look at that. Magenta is odd. On mouse position. Cyan. Oh! That is such a good idea. And like you could change whatever your color is depending on where. Ooh, look at that. Even the white one looks really good. We could just have it. We could just like cycle through. Wait, we need to change our colors. You need to be able to change like different colors. We gotta code that. That has to be done. It totally has to be done. It's just way too much fun. Okay, I give in. I like web development. This is when I get stuck. I get sucked into web development. I get sucked into web development when I start to be able to see cool things that I can do. And then I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay, that is cool. And then I'm like, wait, I'm a terminal guy. What am I doing? It's like, it is fun though. But the only reason I like this is because I'm making it look like a terminal. So yeah. This is in the old days. This is the only reason we wanted JavaScript, just so we could modify things in like on a timeline or something. So I'm liking this. I really like this magenta one. That is like that almost looks like surreal. Very Cyberpunk 2077, where pink and fuchsia are cool colors now. And that has to stay. I'm going to change that right there. But if it's fuchsia, it looks like you make a terminal app that lets you have beautiful text then. Well, you can have pretty beautiful text in terminal these days. You definitely can. Yeah, you can do all kinds of crazy things in terminal now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, well, so we learned about shadow. You know what? I was gonna throw out shadow, but I actually really like it. Using shadow, you can use the whole glow kind of effect. Maybe they should call it glow instead of shadow, because it's not just shadow. If you don't change the offset, it's glow. That's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. You can make it so like when you hover over things. This is the modern illuminated manuscripts. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so. I mean, that's fun. I kind of like it. Yeah, I like it. There's like the Mr. Robot webpage, which they redid the 80s pages. Have you seen those? They're so cool. Well, at least we're having fun here. I sometimes dread doing web design, but I'm having fun today. So thank you for making this fun. Code the color as if you are moving your mouse in a golden ratio over the color gradient picker window. This has to be done. Do not forget that. When we get to the JavaScript section of this book, that is what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Because that has to be done. Obviously, that has to be done. All the fun things you can put. You know what? I'm going to take it back. I'm going to make skillstack.io into the Easter egg game that it once was. It had a bunch of binary in there and stuff that you had to go and inspect. I'm going to make that, and when we do that, it's going to have a bunch of these fun effects in there as well. So I'm not opposed to graphics things. A lot of times the graphics things that I like to do are simulating what can be done on the terminal to get you interested in the terminal. So might as well just use the terminal. How are you going to draw the golden ratio? Is it each Fibonacci number times pi? Easily hack Kitty Alacrity in order to do imaginative effects on the text. Yes, you totally could. And yeah, you definitely can with Alacrity. You're going to probably see me using a little bit more Alacrity going forward because I'm going to be forced to use a Windows machine in this new position. So I don't know if I'll be streaming Windows or not. Probably not. But if I were to, I would do that. All right. So that was fun. That was not boring to me. I don't care about you. I'm just having a good time here. All right. So the other text properties: text last align, tab size, hyphens, overflow wrap, hanging punctuation. The thing that's crazy about this is all of these things about text can be scripted. I know about Sass. I do. I was a big Jade fan of Stylus. You know about Stylus? Jade was HTML. Stylus was the Jade of HTML, and Jade got changed to Pug, and all of that was back in the CoffeeScript era when everybody was doing everything with indented white space and Python was king. Everybody wanted to be Python, and now everybody's like, "What were we thinking?" And they're back to Sass and LC and SCSS and stuff like that. And a lot of people are throwing all of that out and saying, we got variables now. We don't need Sass anymore. Goodbye, Sass. CSS is a huge topic all by itself. That's what I'm trying to say. And 90% of you won't care. Our friend there is recommending Sass. CSS has variables. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. In fact, you can set one of the coolest things that we're going to talk about variables later, but one of the best things to do with variables is to be able to change the theme of your site through things people click on. You can, this is a technique. I'm going to jump ahead. If you set your colors and everything, if you set your colors, if you write your whole site using variables, so that the thematic differences between everything is relatively the same. And if you don't understand that, you might read up on material design and things like that, that actually study, contrast and all that stuff. If you do it right and you don't hard code, you should never hard code a color as far as I'm concerned. If you don't hard code colors, you can put all your colors in the root variables and you can change the entire theme of your site by a pull down menu. You can have 5 or 10 or 20 different thematic versions of your site that someone can just change by pulling it. Or you can just have a dark mode, light mode by clicking on one button and it just changes the variables and your entire site is changed. Because you can store those variables in local cache so that when they come back to your site, they get dark version and then they get the light version or they get the other version. And so it remembers in the local cache what the theme of your site is. So you can theme your site and then make people be able to do different versions. And that's how GitHub has recently deployed its dark mode and a bunch of stuff like that. So it's a really great way to approach it. Then they don't just have to be forced. Maybe they don't like dark mode. You know what I mean? Sociopathic. Yeah, you could even use WebUSB to change your theme based on the music. You totally could. You totally could. You could detect the geographic location of their IP and check the weather, and you could change the theme and the background based on the weather and where they are if you want to freak them out. That has to be done. That totally has to be done. Yeah. You could detect the weather from where they are by geolocation with their IP, and you could literally change the website to represent the weather of that day. Hello to the monde. It would be awesome, except changing the site to nice warm colors during the winter would brighten their mood. Plus, you can implement a new theme as a feature on a weekly basis with a huge drum roll and a la GitHub SO dark mode, etc. Totally. So we haven't got to variables. I assume they're covered in the book, but they are so cool. They're really, really cool. And this is where CSS is starting to become an actual language. I mean, as soon as you start having variables, right? What font is it? We covered that a while back. This is Fira Sans. This is Fira Sans. Yep. This here is Spy Agency, which I paid for. I either got scammed or I did the right thing. One of the two. My buddy later put it on. He goes, "It's a free font. I found it." I'm like, "Well, I don't know if it's free." I actually paid a guy for it. It was really grateful because I put this on my van and everything. So this is Spy Agency, and this is Fira Sans. I also love Laura and Bitter. Those are two fonts. All the fonts I really, really love. This website should not exist. Oh, I don't even want to go there. I'm not going there. Don't go there. Now watch, everybody's going to go there. So, yeah, they're all going to head there. We're going to go play with that. Anyway, what were we doing? I'm distracted. Do we have time? Oh, wow, we got an hour left. Okay. This has been a fun day. Thank you for making it fun. Because, you know, it doesn't exist. There is a website like that. Yeah. There are tons of websites like that. I thought that was the one. There's definitely just perform a random redirect of a curated list, including not implemented. There's one. I think they fixed it finally. I used to know the guy who made this site, and I would use it. I would use it for an example of a horrible site. Oh, I think it's LKN. Lake Norman Web. Let's see. North. You have to see how bad it was. Carolina website. That's the one. See, I knew there was one. You found it. Now we're all going to have to go there. Visit Lake Norman. Is that it? No, it's LKN. It was LKN something. No, it was LKN. What was it called? LKN. I used to use it as an example of the worst possible design you could have. And I knew the guy who made it. And I never told him that. I was like, this is so bad. LKN. Oh, God. I want to say it was lakenorman.com. Why are we going to Cloudflare for 5 seconds to go to a real estate page? This is probably the one. I don't know. My mama said random links are like a box of chocolates. I know they're super scary. Bulgarian administrator website where you could clearly see an exported Word. Oh, man. This is it. Frank. I can't remember if that's him or not. This is not the same website. This is a pretty good WordPress page at this point. Hey, brick house, yay! That's up the street. Oh God, can we agree that the world can be done with hexagons? Hexagons are cool, but can we just be done with them as a design technique? You know how you know immediately to dismiss a company? If it has hexagons in the logo. If it has an overabundance of hexagons in the logo or in its architecture, you're like, oh my God. Hexagons were so like 2013. We're done. Unless you're like doing a D&D adventure gaming map outside in the wilderness, don't put hexagons in your logo. Unpopular opinion. I know. I'm sorry. It's like, I love them too. They're beautiful. They're just overworked. Let's see, paid, I believe, $12 million for a logo for the country or something. That looked like an egg sunny side up. But probably worth like $35. Yeah. The logos are all about, they just want to brag about how much they paid for the logo, 9 times out of 10. I absolutely have to do this though. I know this is like a total diversion, but I'm going to do it anyway. Web archive. I like learning how to do things by looking at stuff that really sucks. It's kind of like the Buddhist philosophy of education with regard to your enemies. You know what the Buddhist thought on is on enemies, right? The Buddhists say you should love and thank your enemy for showing you what you don't want to be. Because otherwise, now you have a very clear picture of what you don't want to be. You should thank your enemy. Thank you for being such an asshole. I don't want to be an asshole like you ever again, and you've shown me the way to not be. It's like doing it the wrong. I actually teach this way a lot. A lot of times I'll do it wrong. I'll say, "You mean like this, right?" And people will be like, "Oh my God, no, don't do that." And sometimes they do that on purpose, sometimes on accident. Like, I don't know, calling something an inline when it was really a block inline the whole time. So Wayback Machine, I have to do this. So if you don't know about the Wayback Archive, I've been using this a lot lately. This is what I did last week, actually, to show you guys skeuomorphic versus flat design. You remember that? That was a fun website, right? Did somebody ever make that? Somebody was working on making that. Check out your website. HBS, lakenorman.com. I remember this guy had like a wrap and everything. Oh God, it was before I got divorced. So it would have been 2000. There we go. Probably right here. So we need anti-kegs. Yeah, we kind of do. 2008. I don't know. Let's go check this snapshot out. You guys know about the web archive? If you don't know about, we've talked about a lot on this stream, on this particular stream. So on this day, anyway, it's a really great way to go back in time. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that's saved. You know what's not saved? Anything in React. Anything made with React. That means if you made your blog with React, goodbye web archive. You just made it so no one can save it. Flat design is kind of boring. Yeah, you might, Crunchy, you probably like it. Yeah, I think you'd probably like the skeuomorphic versus flat brief versus realism is the name. Oh my God, this is it. Wait, I have to turn dark mode off. This is actually it. Yes, I found it. Oh my God. This is the actual site. Wait. I want to get rid of the screen here. You have to fix the game. What game? Which game? Oh my God, look at this. Look at this. Horrible. You know, does anybody live through the Yahoo era? Let's go look at yahoo.com when it first came out. You know why Google destroyed everybody else? Because it was one box in the middle of an empty page. Flat versus realism. Yeah, flat versus realism is the actual name. Skeuomorphic is the whatever. Yeah, geosites. Geosites were fun. Are they still up? I mean, look at these, man. Like, if you I wish you could see the pictures. It's all got like shitty. There's the logo. I would go to church. I was Mormon, and I'd go to church, and he would drive his car up with LakeNorman.com on the side. He's like, he used to talk to me all the time. I mean, he's a nice guy. I mean, he was a really, really nice guy. And it was his team that did it. It wasn't him. But every time he would try to get me interested in LakeNorman.com because I had done web development stuff, I would go to the site and I'd be like, oh my God. I never had the heart to tell him, your site is the ugliest site in all of North Carolina. And it's like, nobody wants to go here. Nobody wants to do anything on your site. It's like, how much can I stuff into the page? Just don't do that, people. Nobody wants that. The only people who wants that is the person trying to sell you something because they think if more stuff is on the page, then it will make you buy their stuff more. Or they're paying for column inches on the front page, and so the person's making money by having you show up on the first page. Gaia Online. Oh, I haven't heard of them. That might be cool. I'll have to go look. Yeah, there's a bunch of cool ones though. Services. It's basically, let's try to be Craigslist and Google and Yahoo all at the same time. Hey, look, you type by business type A for attorneys, which is the first thing that comes to mind because they're the best possible customers. You could have had actuaries or accountants or I don't know what else you got for me. Anyway, so This is a lesson in how not to do a website. All right. This up here is just such a mess. Should we try to see what it looks like on a mobile phone? So I'm sorry. I can't resist. I was working as a web dev. We had a client who wanted a website with a dog kennel, but a picture of a motorcycle on the header and a spinning earth GIF with a clock on the side. They never got into our portfolio. Exactly. Oh my God. Oh, I have the best story. All right. So this is related to web design. So this is fun. It was featured in an MIT macro economy book, I believe. Oh my God. Really? A guy online. I'll have to go look at that. Yeah. There's a bunch of cool sites. We'll have to look at that one too. So I kid you not, I was busy as an entrepreneur in 2013, and I really believed in supporting my community and stuff like that. And somebody that I knew, I can't remember who, suggested it was a site that catered to all of the signups and business processes and getting rid of that kind of thing for you, for signing up for soccer and little league and stuff like that. And they said, oh, we also do clubs and businesses like that. Oh, okay, I'll support that. So I talked to them. I said, yeah, work something up for me. Let me know. And I sent it to my site and said, here, go ahead and do some research on it and see what we're about. And they sent me back a mock-up that some teenager had done. I mean, I'd been Nike's webmaster, and they sent me back a mock-up that looked just like that Lake Norman site, but it had a contact us. I kid you not. This was 2013, and it had a contact us link, and the picture next to the link was a flip Motorola phone with an extendable antenna that was about this big, that I actually had one of those when I was webmaster at Nike in 98. And that's the image they put next to my phone. And my company is SkillStack Technology. And they put that in the thing. And I was like, and I told them, I was really nice about it, but I said, do you think that, my club which teaches technology and programming, might be a little more up to date than this phone image you have on my main page? And none of the people that suggested the website to me thought that there was anything wrong with it. And so I very politely said, no way, I'm not working with you ever again. And then I decided to do all my own IT. I did my own van wraps. I did my own, binary puzzles on the main page, stuff like that. So there's a lot of reason for you to learn web design. I'm glad we're going through this because, I mean, even if you don't do anything but manage your own website, for fun and profit, you won't be beholden to the people who create themes. Your site won't look like yet another Bootstrap site or yet another WordPress site. You can actually have fun with it, and you can make something cool or silly, like Artifacts Live. I mean, that's looking pretty damn silly at this point, right? Where'd it go, by the way? There it goes, right? I mean, that's just fun, right? And also a little scary, but yeah, I mean, and that is fun. And as long as text stays fun, whether it's on the terminal, that's the moral of the story. Are you gonna from that area? Because I got to tell you, it's a little strange that I'm tuning into your stream for the first time and you are talking about my town. Yeah. Yep. This is me. I'm skillstack.io. If you haven't seen my black van that says "Learn Code, Save the World," that's me. Good to meet you. I was on Cornelius for years, and I'm still here. I'm actually in Motorsville now, if you're local. Recognize Joomla websites just by the layout of the homepage. Yeah, oh yeah, you can totally, right? Bootstrap, and I mean, they're all pretty recognizable. If for no other reason, then you can make your own interesting site. It doesn't have to be as fancy as you think. I almost want to pick on Sean, who made a really amazing personal site that just bare bones portfolio. It's very good. Good example. Anyway, let's go back through the book again. We're running out of time. So there's apparently lots of other things to do with text properties, and immediately I see opportunities to script text transformations without having to go full-blown SVG. So have you guys ever seen sites where they like mess with stuff and they make it glow or they make the letters move or something like that? All of those are really fun things to do. Whether or not they're useful or not, maybe not. But I'm kind of been bitten by the useless but kind of fun bug right now, like this, kind of backlighting. And I'm glad I let myself have that happen, because I sometimes get too serious about things, with the whole keg stuff. And there's nothing wrong with turning your your website into a big old application that progressively adds fun stylistic things, as long as they don't remove the ability to search the page or have it archived. So yeah, and so that's one thing. So the takeaway from the book here is, hey, look at all these other things you can mess with when it gets time to turn to JavaScript, right? So you can mess with vertical alignment. You could probably make some of the pictures even move, the letters even move, and wiggle. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. And if you want more examples of crazy stuff, I've mentioned this before, but since we have new people on the stream, you can go to CodePen. CodePen.io is the world's best place to look for random stuff. And I mean, there's everything you could possibly imagine here. This is where people go to show off their skills. And believe me, there are some really amazing skills in here. Look at this, man. Look at that. Isn't that cool? You can spend all day just browsing cool stuff. Oh my God, I actually tore it off. I killed it. I killed it. Look at this. Is this even canvas? Is this canvas? What the heck is this? Change view. I want full screen view. There it is. And you can get the code on GitHub. So, go in here and look for fun stuff. Look at that. What? That's got to be canvas. Oh, look, oh my gosh. Did you see that? This has got to be canvas. It's got to be canvas. Come on, show me the page source. Inspect element. It's got to be canvas. If it's not, it is. Okay. Yeah. Canvas. Remember we talked about canvas briefly? This is why I would do a canvas. This is the same kind of thing. It's using GPL accelerated stuff. So it's basically the same stuff you'd make like a web engine with. And I can't stop doing this now. You guys want this one? I can give it to you so you can have fun too. I swear we're going through the book. I swear, but this is way more fun. Yeah, isn't that neat? But this is Canvas for you. So Canvas. Oh wow! I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break you. I was just playing. What's up with her? Oh my gosh. That is crazy cool. Okay, I'm done now. I know. It's too cool to stop playing with, huh? It's like, you should just put one of those on your webpage just for fun. Like put it in your background, right? And people will stay on your website for like 30 minutes, and then you can put advertising on your website and tell people that people stay on your website forever. They can't look away. I mean, if you're going to put something like this on your page, you might as well do it like this because it only works with graph. I ripped it. I moved it too much and it ripped. I'm so sorry. I feel bad. I feel like I ripped the curtains. I feel like a bad kid. Oh man, I killed it again. Completely random thing that I just found on CodePen. I'm telling you, CodePen is the place to be. It's the place where really awesome developers like make up stuff and showcase what they have. And if you know how to make really cool stuff, put a portfolio up for yourself on here and then show off all your stuff to everybody and give a GitHub link. Now watch, I'm going to go see who this person is because I'm going to follow them and I'm going to star it because they're super cool. Whoever this is. And then you create your own site, right? By the way, go follow me. Go if you want. If you want, you can go follow my thing. Here's my schedule, by the way. And stuff. Since we're talking about GitHub, I might as well say it. Still code that you don't understand. Absolutely. Still code that you have no idea how it works. So, RDX Rob, GitHub, this is my new main portfolio site. I am not doing any work on this particular site. This is the default template that comes with GitHub, so don't judge me. I got my notes and stuff here. Anyway, so what we're doing. Let's go back to the book. So lots of text fun things you can do and finishing touches. So you can put all this line height stuff in there. We learned body font family. We did all that already. We did text shadow. We did that. You just tuned in. This is Learning Web Design 5th edition from Jen Robbins. Also recommended by Jen Simmons from the Mozilla Network, who I often confused with Jen Robbins. I think Jen works for a university. She did. and she uses this book is the product of a lot of teaching that she's done. Still standard book in many web design courses, including the one that I taught for the university. Is it true that Apple will force apps to change their tracking policies? Otherwise, they might have to pull out the app from the App Store. No idea. Not really interested. So I don't follow apps at all. I use apps, but I don't follow it at all. I think it's bad for the world to have an app store. Unfortunately, I understand why they exist. I just don't think that it's a good thing. How's it going, Dylan? It doesn't really sound legal. Yeah. There's so many things that border on illegality, but Apple Store is probably a good tangent to talk about, but not now. H1. So text shadow, we got that. Oh, here's our blurry color. We got that. Okay. What else did we get? We got, we did our color olive. Ooh, olive. Letter spacing, transform. So look at, wow, they went to town on this menu. Look at that. They had a lot of fun. We did all that already. So you can explore. People, don't just sit here and watch me on YouTube or Twitch. Go play around with stuff. That's the whole point, is for you to go play around with it. And that's all I'm doing. So you don't think you're going to learn this by just watching somebody on YouTube. Or you got to mess with it. You got to get dirty. You got to get your hands all dirty or whatever. Otherwise, you're not going to learn it. Other than yourself. Yes. Play with things other. Yeah. Go play with this stuff all by yourself. Is that better? Is that more suitable for work? Changing list buttons and numbers. Facebook wants a file, case study against Apple, blah, for doing struct controlling. Yeah, none of that interests me. It's also off topic. So let's not talk about that anymore. Everyone handles this lockdown differently. Don't judge me. I'm not judging you. I am not judging you at all. Just don't want to talk about it right now. Change. I don't know why we get on these topics. We were talking about boobies last time for some reason too. We have to keep the bar high here. Changing list bullets and numbers. Oh my God, here we go. You guys, every conversation can be traced back to ending in something like that. This to simulate the jelly code pen with the bouncy squares of jello that morph and oh my God. Elsie, leave it to you to bring that up. Choosing a marker. All right, I'm trying to stay on topic here. Pay attention. All right, changing list bullets and numbers. Before we close out this chapter of text properties. God damn, I thought we were done. I want to show you a few tweaks you can make with bullet and number lists. Oh, we already know this. I did this already. You did this, right? You can change it so you can have like pretty things and discs and stuff. You don't have to just do plain old bullets. See this? I mean, we already did that. We covered that like 3 weeks ago. That's another thing. That's a critique I have of this book, is it does bounce around quite a bit, kind of because it has to. If I were to rewrite this book for her, which I don't plan on doing, if I were to do that, I would have 2 books. I would have a really thin, here's the basics you need to know about how everything fits together. And then I would have okay, now we're going to dive into this, and have a different one. I actually, in general, I think that's a better approach to learning. I think you should have a primer or an essentials book that ties all the concepts together, and that just gives you 1 or 2 samples of each of those concepts, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that you can get through in like a week or 2 that keeps you motivated. And then you go deep in CSS, go deep into JavaScript or whatever, so that people can dig down into that, so that you're not giving them all the data at once and then going to all the other data. If you notice in this book, it has to jump around all the time and say, we're going to do this now. Now you don't understand what this is going to be, but you will in like another 100 pages, right? I think if you were to teach all those things concurrently first, and then back up and then like layer in the complexity with all the things that we're doing. So that's my approach, because you kind of have to do that anyway. When I write my essentials line of books, the beginner boost books that I'm going to write in whatever way, that's what they'll be. They'll be really minimal books to give you the idea, and then it will be up to you to research the rest of it. Because God knows, giving you the definitive guide is going to fail, because it's going to be the non-definitive guide in 1 month. And then will be the squares. Oh boy, here we go. So next, here we go. Decimal leading zeros. Yeah, you can do all this crazy stuff. This stuff doesn't come in. You can actually do this with Markdown as well, which I really want to get to. That is going to get covered extensively, but you can cover the whole thing of Markdown in an hour. It's like not even hard. So list style positions. If you're just looking to produce content that's readable and stuff, you don't even really need HTML. You need to have a general knowledge of it. Make your own bullets. I've heard about this. I've never done it. So if you set a URL here, you can have rainbow bullets. Who doesn't want rainbow bullets? Oh my goodness. Well, now I know I can do that. This is the first in 2013, I had my students design our webpage, and it was all rainbows and unicorns. And that was my official webpage for like a month or something. You can go back and see it. You did it with favicons? Nice. There's the list style, so you can go ahead and put that out there. That's cool. Screenshot your list, and now you have your list bulleted with the image of itself. You don't discount that, because sometimes like a raster image of something that is relatively complex is way more valuable than trying to lay it all out with CSS. I believe that. There's a certain point at which you just punt and don't do it with CSS or with HTML. You do it with, something that's consistent. I mean, yeah. You made bolts the cat paw. Oh, nice. So yeah. I mean, however, if you make sure you don't put anything in that image that someone's ever going to need to search or read, because if they come across it, none of it will be searched. You guys ever been to a website that, like a how-to site that's just all pictures, and all the text describing what to do at each step is all in a picture, and you're like reading the how-to page and you can't see anything and you don't know what's going on? That always bothers me. I have no problem with you adding pictures to your how-to. It's a good idea. But describe the steps for the people who can't see the pictures. Why does that even have to be said? It does, though. I'm telling you, people don't do it. So look for the good in the others, and they'll see the good in you. Fake news. All right. There we go. So there's the DOM. There's how stuff relates to each other. CSS code reviews and fonts and text. Who we did. This has been fonty, texty, liney, wordy stuff. And that's been really good. I hate about Twitch. You can put an image in a panel and then they put an alt attribute, but they put it to do something totally generic and don't let you edit it. Yeah, they totally did. You're talking about all the kappa stuff? Yeah, every time I see kappa in the IRC, I'm like, oh, somebody on Twitch is trying to be sarcastic. I actually like that because I have no idea what the images mean. And then like, oh, you don't know Twitch. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't know what that icon means. What does that icon mean? I have no idea. You can't communicate. I don't speak your emoji language. Oh, it sucks to be you. You're not one of the cool people. I'm like, this is not effective communication. I know, I'm kind of grumpy that way. Like, it's fun. It's fun. Sometimes it's, a bunch of emojis streaming across the screen is really fun. But if you're trying to learn or you're trying to read or do anything like that, then it's completely ineffective. When you put a kappa at the end, it means that you are joking. Yeah, that I know now. Yeah, I've learned that one the hard. See, there you go. There's Quint. Yeah, there's Quint. Haha, shrug left. Vohio, I've seen that one a lot too, and I don't know what that one means yet. But at least it was funny, as I do not log into Twitch very much other than to watch other people stream stuff, and I certainly don't use the manager there. So I've gotten to the point where I can usually recognize the names. In that sense, I'm kind of like a blind person. I'm glad that it says kappa, but I don't know what kappa means, right? Anyway, I mean, kappa I know, but there you go. And you can use, the other thing too is you can actually use emojis in IRC, but the Twitch stuff doesn't come through. You know, it's going to be we're kind of declining at the end of our session here, so I can talk about random stuff. But we're kind of moving toward a time when it's going to happen. One of these services is going to make it so that any of these things can be added to a font, and you can download the font, and then the font will have it all in there. Does anybody know if there's already been a Twitch font created? The problem with it is it so this is something Twitch could do. Hey Twitch, you got your ears on? Twitch, if you really want to take this and make this OG, all this stuff, release a font every week. Release a font every week that has been updated with all of the emojis that people have in their current emoji set. Or make an interface somebody can click and download a TrueType font that they can add to their system. But they won't do that because the whole point of it is to get people to stay on Twitch so they watch the advertising, so they won't do it. There's not a reason to do it. I don't get the Twitch culture. It's so like, what is yeah. And people just say, oh, you're just too old, you don't matter. And I'm like, okay, fine. Don't want my money, I guess, huh? My money doesn't matter to you. The money of all those that I teach and mentor doesn't matter to you. Yeah, if they would appeal to more people and you know, they wider audience, they would, particularly education. They do not care. Twitch does not care about science and technology. They have, through their actions, they've proven over and over and over again that they do not care about the science and technology category. It doesn't make them any money. True story. It's too bad. It's really too bad. They could really change the world with their platform if they gave it more attention, but they don't. YouTube has given a lot of attention to its educators, and that's why they added chapters. That's why they added, you know, Twitch. YouTube categories, and they have, you know, educators use YouTube all the time, including Khan Academy, right? So YouTube has an appreciation for the education community in the science and tech world. Twitch, not so much. They don't care. I mean, Twitch is entertainment. They care more about a guy with sushi in his name running around with robots, showing how he uses his green screen, you know, making all kinds of money with people watching advertisements, because they'll watch that, and they will. Anyway, I'm off topic. Stickers and emojis and emotes are based on scarcity economy. Not going to happen. Yeah. I was going to say, right. Yeah, they're all based on scarcity. And so is the Twitter. YouTube is trying to do the Twitch thing. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to watch because they suck at it. They're really trying hard. When you people spam Pog and Pog you, I don't get it. I'm told. Yeah, I'm too old, I guess. Yes. Join the club. Whatever. Since we're off topic, can you talk about exercises in Perl? Yes. Let's make sure we're completely off topic first. Yep, there we go. So colors and backgrounds. Looks like that'll be the next chapter for tomorrow. At this current rate, it's going to take us forever to get through this, but that's okay. We have many, many more chapters in CSS. This is just Flexbox and layout. I want to hit that one really hard. It's really important that you learn that. Floating and positioning, not so much. That's kind of old school. Boxes with divs and stuff. Colors and backgrounds are going to go pretty fast. I think we could probably finish we could probably finish before the end of February. Finish the whole thing. I do not want to skip web images. It's really important that you understand web images. So yeah, we'll go through all of this. That's not too bad. I mean, all things considered, it's just not a Udemy learn web design in 12 hours kind of thing, which, by the way, is never a good idea. Unless you're trying to you should call it what it is. It's just a primer of what's to come, right? So, yeah, 4th edition is, no. I mean, 5th edition is out of date, so I can't imagine what 4th edition is. I have 4th edition also. I have a 4th edition. I have a 5th edition. I have a 5th edition in Amazon copy. So I have, I've gone through it a lot, actually, and that's why I wanted to do it publicly. So I also don't feel like it's any kind of copyright issue for me to do it publicly because it's a service at this point to, the people making money off the book, because the book is really out of date. It's got so many important concepts in it. That's why I'm staying with it. Favorite books on physical copies? Yes and no. I mean, I go back and forth. I still love my whole O'Reilly library, right? But I am not. I'm slowly. I just love a good book that I can write in and stuff. But you can't search it. I mean, let's be real. I don't know. This is why I think knowledge, root knowledge nodes and knowledge nodes in this knowledge exchange grid and knowledge bases are really the secret, because you can make a book out of it if you need to, but it's more important because it's alive and it can be searched in real time. Blah, blah, blah. You can't put it in your lap and take it with you to bed and have it run on a Kindle yet. 2022. How about 2023? 2023, you'll be able to buy Keg browsers that are built off the same technology as Kindle. I swear to God, I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to pressure Amazon. I'm just talking. I'm going to pressure Amazon into supporting the knowledge exchange grid. And really all they have to do is support the internet, because the knowledge exchange grid piggybacks on the infrastructure of the World Wide Web, even though it doesn't use any of the World Wide Web. Yeah, I know. There's E-Link displays, by the way. I know. Color E-Link? I haven't seen any color E-Link ones. No. They're all like, I don't know if I would want one anyway. But yeah. We priced the screens that are inside of a Kindle. There's actually a manufacturer in America. When we first started doing the Essential Web stuff, we were very serious about making hardware to display, the Essential Web Markdown as is and raster images. The hardest part about this whole thing is, if you support SVG images, you have to support the SVG computation, and that is not easy to build. You have to get a library for that and all that kind of thing. So, but it's doable. So, raster is really easy to display because it's almost everything supports raster. Color E-Link. There was something I wanted to make with one. Yeah. Recommend a good book on Perl. Actually, it's interesting you say that about Perl. I just added to my books list. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up this video and drop, and then I'll come back. But so because I want this video to be, go out there to the world as a web video. Just stay tuned and come back later or whatever, and we'll talk about Perl. I do want to say though that the current title for my Perl book is going to be Kick-Ass Perl. Perl That Kicks Ass. That was it. I forgot the actual name. And so I'm going to write that book very soon, actually. Perl Doc is a good way. Perl Intro is nice. Yeah. Exercises. The best, yeah. The exercises that are out there are non-existent, really, for Perl. Because you have to have a need for it, and the need for Perl is varied and complex and tainted by history. So that's why I've discovered there really needs to be a modern Perl book written, and the Perl book needs to be focused on what Perl is still and always was superior at. Perl That Kicks Ass, rapid shell scripting in the world's most powerful and ubiquitous interpreter language. And that goes for Python. Perl is way more ubiquitous than Python, way more ubiquitous. And that's why it is the world's best shell language. So on learning a new language, lack of exercises. I can't just keep writing loops all day. Right. What you need to do is you need to start finding tasks that you want to do from the command line. Do you know what I mean? So things that involve like parsing documents. Perl, don't use Perl for anything but just shell. Anytime you reach for bash or shell or Z shell or whatever, and you need a little bit more than what it gives you, reach for Perl. Perl is good for that stuff. It's really good for rapid prototyping. It's really good for any kind of interaction with text. I think the exercises you should do should involve parsing existing data. And the number of exercises and challenges that I would write for Perl would be doing those things. If I mean you guys know about, I'm gonna actually flesh this out a lot more. Lang/CHA. These language challenges right now, first of all, they're not all there. There's another 30 I still have to port over from Python. I've only got the first few. They're just fun exercises you can do from shell. You can do all of those exercises in Perl as well and Go. And my challenges are more framed towards terminal applications development. And I'm just going to own that. A specific Perl frame of mind, I'm thinking of doing things like Python have PEP8. Absolutely not. Nope. The core ethos of Perl is in fact, the license even says the Perl artistic license. The Perl ethos is you're an artist, be your own person, write your own code. There's not a standard at all. In fact, the more you express yourself in the language, the more the community which lost the battle against Python in terms of enterprise computing, because nobody wants to pay a bunch of artists to write code. They want to pay people that are going to write consistent code, and they can replace that artist with a cheaper artist who understands the code. And then you get a PEP8, and then it's very, I mean, it's literally the opposite ethos. This is why Perl and Python people are so head to head against each other. You know, they fundamentally have different opinions about how life should be, let alone how to code. And I mean, Perl is really contextual, and you can cram a ton of stuff in one line, and that just makes Python people sick to their stomach because it's not clear and you can't read it. But yeah, you just wrote a whole bunch of stuff in one line, and so it's a completely different approach for a different purpose, and that's a different conversation we need to have. I'm going to tell you this though. I'm going to be doing Go tutorials online for people, but I'm going to, for the beginner, we have a lot of beginner material that needs to be done, but I swear to God, I'm going to do that book. I'm going to do Perl that kicks ass, and all it's going to focus on is Perl for what you should be using Perl for. And I might even start that series as soon as we finish this boost, because it just makes you a way better shell scripter. It makes you a way better cybersecurity person. I mean, seriously, learning Perl will make you such a better hacker, because so much stuff is already written in Perl, and so much stuff can be written really quickly and powerfully in Perl to parse through data. Let's say you break into a database and you want to extract some data out of there right away. Perl is the perfect language for that. It's already on the system. You dump the thing to a file. You can parse that thing apart way better than you could with the awk or sed. It's a great language. It's supposed to already on the system. You don't have to transfer the data. Yeah, also tons of hacking tools and modules in Perl. Yeah, if you're going to go to the module way, you can do that. Python's got good stuff too for that. If you're going to, as soon as you start crossing over into an application space, and Python sort of wins, you can still do that in Perl. God knows I did. But enterprise applications in Perl are kind of frowned upon now, and I agree with that. Python's a better language for that, but Python's being replaced by Go for that. And so I personally believe the best tools in your tool chest as a cybersecurity SRE kind of person are shell, plain old shell, Perl, and bash as well. I've loved bash as well, but you know, shell, bash, Perl, those are always going to be on any system you're on. So you need to learn those if you're going to be doing any of that stuff. That's the glue for everything else. And then, you know, a good systems engineering language, lightweight systems engineering, multi-purpose language like Go. And if you want to write a fuzzer or your own operating system, yeah, Rust is good for that. Gomozo is perfect proof of that. On Twitch, Gomozo writes operating systems in Rust, and for that kind of thing, yeah, sure, write that in Rust. But so that's where we're at. Oh, there's my wife bringing me my laundry.
Yeah, I can't have it on my lawn.
I hear you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and break, and I may or may not come back right away or not. But when I do come back, I will be doing a lot of coding in Go. I'm actually going to be porting some Perl code to Go for some things that I need to work on. There's no such thing as a Perl style guide. It's like an oxymoron. There's no such thing. No, I'm sorry. It's people who are raised in Python just don't understand this at all. Perl is look, I really have to make a series of videos on Perl. I do. I have to. I mean, that's one thing I could very definitively come from a place of authority on. I've written tens of thousands of lines of Perl code that's currently still running in the bowels of Fortune 500 companies everywhere, and for better or worse, right? And And I've come to the conclusion that Perl is the best scripting language, but not the best enterprise language. And I would love to make a series on that, and I really want to. So anyway, Wikimedia, talk pages, yeah. This is not a bash on Perl, but after, is that a play on words? But after learning Perl, I need to how to grow a long beard video series. Anyone have any experience with Leaks XP sources? Perl was offshoot list of Lisp. Am I wrong? I don't know. I actually don't know the origins of Perl. All I know is the best origin of Perl that I know is that Perl was a. We should probably change the topic here, right? Perl was a replacement for sedawk, TR, and the gang, and I did a video recently on this actually. So if you go search for my videos for Perl, Perl, you can go watch that. I did a whole video on that. My beard was longer. You probably remember, and then I trimmed it. It's just annoying. I like a good long beard, but it can get annoying over time. My beard has begun. You guys crack me up. You guys are so much fun. You people. I don't want to say guys. It's a non-correct in 2021. I apologize for that. What's the best entity language, entertainment language, entry-level language? It's funny. I have a whole idea on that particular topic. So I need to change the topic if we're going to talk about this. Enterprise language. Discussions about Perl, Python, and enterprise languages. I guess people get this for free. It's tacked on to the end. If we're going to change the topic, and I want to change the topic a little bit here, just give me a second. And I don't mind talking about it before I leave, because this is the kind of stuff I can talk about all day, every day, and not ever get tired of it. And have. That's definitely true. Yeah, eating and having a long beard don't play nice. You know what? I love having a good long mustache. You know what's really more popular these days is a good stash. Because a lot of techies, young tech people I've seen have had, like, they've got a porn stash. There's one guy recently, he was wearing 1970s glasses, and I'm thinking that's the style. I think in the 70s, like, style is coming back in. Yeah, he was literally wearing, like, the same kind of glasses with a little thing in the middle, and he had, like, a porn stash on and 70s hairdo from the side. And I was like, it seems like the hyper ultra chic male style right now is to dress like a porn star in the 70s. I swear, I've seen it so much. I was like, what's up with all these people with stashes? I'm starting to find it's all over the place. It's kind of a fashion trend that's hitting somehow. Bite into a burger and bite your mustache. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Get it so long as I can brush it on the two sides so there's no hairs going over my lips. Yeah. Yeah. The tough part is when it gets to where it's now for me. Then it, like, rotates, it curls around in your mouth. You know what I'm saying, unless you get a lot of product on it or something. We're supposed to be talking about enterprise languages, not beards. All right, so yeah. So somebody asked a question. What was the question? What was the question? Leaked XP source code. Offshoot of Lisp. I don't know that. What was Perl? How's it good? Started learning Perl. My beard has begun. Yeah, and that's what got us on the beard thing. What was the question? We got on the beard thing and we lost. It's 21. No facial hair. Is there any hope? I need to, guys. I'm supposed to be talking about enterprise languages, and now we're talking about beard hair. That's actually relevant. You can't learn an enterprise language without a beard. There's no hope. What is the best enterprise language? All right, so the best tool for the job, and that's not a punt. Have I used Lua? Yes. What do I think about it? I love Lua. Okay, so we're about to enter into the language zone, which is where everyone has a really strong opinion about a language, even though it might not be the best tool for the job, including me. So just everybody prepare for the language zone, because whenever we have a conversation about languages, it gets really hairy. And I'm not talking beard hair. It's just like, people poke each other's eyes out and call themselves, bad people. I know, because I did that Rust video, which was sort of done when I was angry, and then got the appropriate retaliation from the Rust community. I mean, everybody, God, you should see the stuff they wrote to me. There was one Twitter guy, it was nearly a death threat. I was like, really? That you care that much about a language? Anyway, so even old women grow beards eventually.
Do you have a heater on in here?
I do not have the heater. It's just me.
So warm.
I know. It's me and the lights,
It's like
honey.
Several degrees warmer.
Several degrees. I'm going to leave here soon.
Okay.
Everything in Visual Basic 6 and Commodore 64. Exactly. No, don't do that. If you don't know what it is, don't worry. You're a good person. Lua last night started following tutorials. It's faster, right? Yeah. Okay. So enterprise languages. Lua is not an enterprise language, by the way. Lua's best claim to fame is it's the most embeddable language on planet Earth. You will find Lua embedded. That's why Lua is, all the mods are made in Lua, because it's the most embeddable language on the planet. It's so easy to embed into any C project, any other project, and therefore that's why Roblox uses it. That's why modders use it. All that stuff. So Lua is largely learning how to write hash maps mostly. Lua is not an enterprise language, even though IBM used Lua as a plugin architecture for one of its main applications. You're most likely to encounter Lua when you're combining a language with something else, and that's cool. That's good. It's good for that. It's really good for that. It's a good language for that kind of thing. When it comes to an enterprise language, there's no easy answer to that. And I'm not trying to dodge the question. It depends on the enterprise. According to TOB Index, the number 2 most employable, most popular language is still Java. I hate Java. You can never pay me enough to code it unless it was to code something to replace Java, which is one of the reasons Go was created. And so, yeah, 6-year-old women have appeared. Yeah. Right. I know PHP, sort of, no Bash, currently learning Perl. I don't want to learn C. We'll have to learn Go because of work. I don't know why I should ever learn Python for and why. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. It's all. It depends. It depends on what the enterprise is doing. Right now, enterprises, there are a lot of major enterprises that are running mainframe COBOL applications. And I mean, a lot. You said enterprise, so I'm going to hold you to it. When you're saying enterprise, you have to really understand the enterprise. And you know who doesn't understand the enterprise? The whole freaking internet. The whole internet doesn't talk about what's happening in the enterprise usually, because enterprise conversations usually come with a price tag or a conference address or something like that. And they're all proprietary and they're all happy because it's enterprise land. Enterprise land is a ton of walled gardens where it's like little sovereign states that don't even communicate with each other unless they pay some high price tag to go to a special conference. That's where you learn about what enterprises are actually doing. Unless they're one of the FANG companies that's a really public facing enterprise, you're not going to hear what's happening at X and Y company behind the scenes, because they're not going to tell you, because it's part of their competitive advantage. Sometimes they won't even tell you what languages they're using. And this is the thing that's so frustrating because I know that this is true, and yet you hear overwhelming coverage for things that appear to be popular but are not actually popular if you include the enterprise. So what I mean is, it depends on the enterprise. If you are working for, like when I was at Nike, they were just rolling out a bunch of stuff in Java. They had a certain amount of stuff written in Perl. There are entire mid-size enterprises that have all of their stuff is in Perl, and they're trying to get off of it. They're trying to get to Python. There's a lot of places that have the entire Excite search engine was written in Python. It depends on if there's a bunch of glue going on. If it's a low-level language, then it's going to do a lot of assembly in Perl and C and stuff. So the first language that comes to mind when you say enterprise is Java, hands down. Java and C# are by far the most prevalent enterprise languages in existence today. I have no doubt of that. I have nothing to go on other than my own opinion been what I've been following and who I talk to and what companies I've seen behind the scenes. And most of those companies have initiatives to move their old stuff off of their old systems, their technical debt, onto new systems. And those systems almost universally are written in Go. And every time I hear a case of an old school company migrating off to something else and trying to start up a microservice, one of the appeal of microservices, by the way, is that you can chop off certain things, keep them the way they are, and then port them into a more modern tech without affecting the supply chain. Because the supply chain doesn't care. It's just a microservice. It's just they don't care what provides the service over JSON. They just want to make sure that it's happening, and they don't care what the language is. The appeal of microservices from the time Bezos, forced it on everybody at Amazon, was that nobody had to care about anything. They could implement it in whatever they wanted, whatever the best integration language was on the back end, because the front end, the top end, the mesh, the microservices were all in JSON at the time REST, and these days in GraphQL and gRPC and stuff like that. So the appeal of microservices is that it eliminates the need to ask the question, what's the best enterprise language? And that way, if you have a service that needs to talk to a weather vane, and it's got a C component, then it's written. There's been a Python wrapper written for it. Then that can broadcast that microservice in Python, wrapping up some C. And maybe you have a stock exchange system that's had an entire library written in Java. Maybe you want to integrate, I hate it, but Burp Suite, which is all Java, into some sort of automated process, right? So it just depends on the language. There is no real one, but if you were to ask the average person on the street who is in the enterprise or is a CTO, what are the number one most popular, most commonly used enterprise languages, particularly dependent given in the industry, but across all industries, Java is going to be definitely one of the first answers. And I hate Java. I will never code it. There's tons of jobs in it, but I believe it's now considered sort of legacy. And then the second most common one would be C#, because most enterprises are Microsoft shops, and therefore there's a lot of C# in there. We're talking about, those are the things that come to mind. The stuff that you'd never hear about is all the mainframe coding that has to happen. But those are the ones when someone says enterprise language, they usually mean that. The fastest growing up and coming enterprise languages are no surprise Python and Go, and right now they're kind of head at each other's throats, because Python still has a lead in data science and machine learning and stuff. And that's only, by the way, because those TensorFlow and those NumPy have been written in C++, and Python integrates with C++ better than Perl did, which is why it won. And to date, better than Go has to do, because Go would have to port those libraries. But what you're seeing happening is you're seeing Go libraries being created to replace those core libraries that Python has been depending on, and slowly Go's taking over there, because everything about Go fits perfectly in the enterprise space. It was designed for that very thing at Google. And there's one thing I know, having interviewed for the CTO helper position, that was basically based on chasing unicorns and teaching other companies how to be them, including Google, is that companies want to chase Google, and they want to do what Google's doing, and a lot of them, and that's one of the reasons that Google, like it or hate it, because of its Go association, is having Google behind Go in whatever way, not officially, right, but is still a huge thing for Go, because it puts a lot of enterprise clout behind the language, and then you get a Docker and a Kubernetes and all that kind of stuff, and Go is the new enterprise language. It is. It's the modern enterprise language. It's not really about Java versus C++. It is more about JVM versus CLR. I agree. Big corporations care about runtimes rather than languages. Yep. I agree with that. And that's, I think, why Scala got so big, right? Would you agree with that, 70? 70, would you agree with it? So in the enterprise, Clojure and Scala got really big as well. And those are based on, I love that. That's a great point. So enterprises have already done a lot of work to deploy JVMs throughout the enterprise. So they've already got massive Java support. Yeah. Others not, depends on the team. I completely agree with that. That's a very enterprise perspective. I'm glad you're here. a few messages while talking. Well, yeah, I did, but I'll go back to some of those messages. But I want to focus on this one. But this is the reason I think that when, I really want to focus on this issue. Enterprise doesn't like wasting money. And that means if they can get away with reusing something they've deployed to their entire enterprise, they will. And that's why Scala and Clojure just really came on strong. Jython, remember that? Anything that reuses the JVM infrastructure that these companies have spent millions to deploy is popular with the enterprise. Because the people who are in charge of the purse strings, they're like, I don't want to have to redeploy an entire thing, right? And actually, I think that's one of the reasons Go is really going to succeed, is because Go doesn't have a JVM or anything new to deploy. They just have to ship executables at the end, and they can target and automate the deployment of all those executables rather easily. And I happen to know firsthand that there are really important companies that are very interested in these prospects. I happen to know because I'm interviewing with one of them right now, because they are traditional companies that are learning that the flexibility of deployment that Go provides, as well as its rock solid stability and stuff, is something they're willing to look beyond to the Javas of the world and the Scala, and they put their JVM aside or their mainframe aside, right? That's CLR is mainframe, right? So right. There are matters that just want their Java 5 code to run on a JVM bytecode for Java 16, nothing fancy. Yeah. Oh, bytecode and new builds. Right. And that's, look, and that, it's a little hard for this is why I spent so much time during this little bit of ranting to focus on enterprise mentality, because it's absolutely true that enterprise think is different than public think. It's different than FANG think. Enterprise think is totally different, and you have a number of different considerations. And unless you've worked in an enterprise for a consistent amount of time, it's going to be, particularly a big enterprise, you're going to have a real hard time understanding the dynamics of a behemoth that can't be turned easily. You can't turn the steering wheel and have the whole thing turn. You're throwing away millions of dollars of investment to do that. These companies, this is why mainframe is still so prominent all over the place. Stability rather than innovation. Right. They have, the way these big enterprises do things is they have pockets, they usually call them centers of innovation. And what they do is they're these little startup dynamic things that are happening within their big, boring, slow moving company, because they're bringing in innovation and they're hopefully influencing the people around them. This is how Xerox got Palo Alto. The Xerox, which is one of these big, slow moving companies, brought in all these really amazing engineers who saw, Engelbart do his presentation on, the mother of all demos, when he did the mouse and Wi-Fi for the first time in human history. And they saw all that. They brought that to Palo Alto Labs and Xerox and made, the internet, Ethernet. They made object-oriented computer programming, Smalltalk, and they made the object-oriented interface, which Steve Jobs then came in and stole and ripped off and made $1 billion off of. But the reason I have to show you that you have to understand that dynamic is because that pocket of innovation, that center of innovation within Xerox, never got any traction within the enterprise, because the enterprise is being too driven by the status quo. And if you're going to start to work in an enterprise, you better damn well understand that dynamic. If you go in there as an innovative cowboy, you're going to get squashed, because they're going to be like, you just do not understand our priorities. You do not understand what we need. He's like, why are we not doing this all Ruby? They'll be like, saying thank you very much for coming by. Most modern PCs that break all the time. Hot swap CPU. Yeah. And it's, what's really sad, Grateful Tomato, is that, that frame of mind, that reality is underrepresented outside of the enterprise. And unfortunately, it's going to be almost impossible to communicate through a live stream or through a YouTube video what the dynamics of a large enterprise feel like. Now, you may choose to never engage into a large scale enterprise or a slow moving enterprise like that. But, I hate to say it, but most business in the world is not FANG companies. People love to think that, that, I don't know, Uber is setting the IT direction for the whole world. Maybe they have one popular style guide for JavaScript. Okay. A company like IBM just looks at them like, okay, here, hold my beer. Let me show you how to do things. Yeah, did you provide IT support for an entire world war? Yeah, okay. Tell me more about how you've influenced the world. I mean, the big enterprises who have been with us forever, you might hate them. You might have lots of negative things to say with them, but they have dealt with IT issues and infrastructure issues that would make companies like Google cry like a little fucking baby. They have no idea how to deal with it. And true, they are slow-moving, big, ugly behemoths, and a lot of people leave them because they're not innovative and they want to learn new things. But that doesn't make them less important or relevant, and you need to just learn that big enterprises are a place that need our help too. And there are a lot of places that are suffering right now, frankly, important industries in American IT that are suffering because they can't get good talent because they're dealing with, oh God, Java or Perl. And you know what? I'm guilty. I will not code Java. I won't do it. I won't code COBOL either. Doesn't mean, I'm guilty too. I left IBM. I go back if I can help them make a difference, right? I have no interest in Java at my work as well. Java sucks. Yeah, but look, you can say Java sucks, but Java was a stepping stone. I hate it. I hate Java. Okay? Don't take my words wrong. But let's see. But I'd like to write desktop software for more than just Linux in the system's native UI and perhaps Android and iOS. I don't want to cop out my using React Native. Shall I write everything in C? I don't know. If I were doing native personally, I would either do, like you say, React Native, or I would do Kotlin and Android. I would learn Kotlin. If I was truly going to become a native app developer, which I would never do, I would learn Swift and I would learn Kotlin. And then that's what I would do everything in personally. Just the syntax, to be fair, right? Just the syntax of Java, I won't do it. I moved to Angular front end work, so I'm still relevant in my work for front end work. Yeah, but every Java chance I can work, maybe the business is starting to recognize it. Businesses, JetBrains work a few days ago. Some stats about Go. Oh, nice. What's happening? Is it going down or up? I think it's pretty much exploding. And what's happening. I've said this before. Go, look, guys, I'm a Go fanboy, but I'm a fanboy for objective reasons. And the objective reasons are I actually see Go fulfilling a nexus of needs coming together from enterprise, scientific computing, shell scripting, SRE. All of those things are coming together in a way, frankly, that the last time I saw that happen was in '96 with Perl, because it was the only language that could fulfill all of those needs for the internet, and it became the internet's major backend language, despite the fact that it was never designed to be that. And then, of course, it gave way to Python and PHP and Java eventually, and JVMs and all that stuff. And I do find it really fascinating that there is this coming together from many different angles in Go. You see Microsoft core, like really, really, Microsoft, they, in their veins kind of people agreeing with Linux people when it comes to Go development. And that's not something that I've seen happen a lot in my life. So I won't do Golang. It has good library support, but I want GC to go away. Yeah, if you're in a Rust camp because you like GC, then you're not writing enterprise code. Bottom line. Seriously, show me one major enterprise application that's written in Rust that doesn't have a high-end concurrency dependency that should have been better written in Erlang in the first place, including Discord's shitty blog that they wrote. They wrote this big blog and pissed all over Go 1.9. We're on 1.16 now, by the way. And then what? And then they within a month they were off Rust and they're onto Erlang. They still have some Rust in there. You didn't get to hear any of that. I hear about that blog every time. That's why I'm sensitive about it. I'm so sick of hearing about it. Is Java the king of languages? So anyway, if you're not okay with garbage collection, you're not an enterprise developer. End of story. You can't turn around software without garbage collection in ways that matter fast enough. Sorry. In fact, I even saw the demonstration about this yesterday. I watched a whole Rust video yesterday, and the guy put it very succinctly. It was really good. He said, Rust trades compiler performance for optimizations during development. In other words, it takes longer to compile because it's safer, and so the optimizations and stuff are built into the development process for Rust. And I agree with that to a large degree, but it makes the compiler really, really slow. And the reason the compiler is slow is because it doesn't have garbage collection in the runtime. And so he basically was saying, and it probably holds true, he was basically saying that the reason the compiler sucks so bad for Rust is because it has to do so much more work because the runtime doesn't have garbage collection. I don't buy that for a second. It's an LLVM language, people. If you're a consumer is waiting for your GC times, and all your consumers not hold up in resources for the combat effects downstream consumers. Yeah, if you have a high performance demand for no garbage collection, yeah, well, you have to. It's not fair to say that unless you also say what the application is doing, right? And 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with microservices, dude, if garbage collection times are slowing you down and I/O is not your issue, I'll eat my hat. I'll find a hat and I will eat it. Give me a solid example of an enterprise application where garbage collection times are going to affect the overall product availability. Because product availability and the speed of microservice delivery over HTTP or whatever, there are so many of their bottlenecks that garbage collection is irrelevant. And I can prove that overwhelmingly with the enterprise adoption of Java, which has both a JVM and garbage collection. Python, which has some of the slowest garbage collection in history, been widely adopted by the enterprise. Show me one case anywhere of an enterprise domain for a real solution that depends on garbage collection to deliver for its customers. You can't, because there aren't any. As soon as you have that level, and there are examples of this where that level of runtime execution speed matter, phone switches come to mind. What are they written in? Almost every phone switch application is written in Erlang. So Erlang functional. So you're talking about what matters to an enterprise. An enterprise they want to be the hardest thing for an enterprise to get. The highest cost, the highest IT cost in the enterprise is training developers. Highest cost by far. The highest cost. Anyway. So, some of the most trafficked sites on the web are GC. Absolutely. Because the I/O is always going to be the issue. It's not going to be garbage collection. Garbage collection is irrelevant. I mean, Ruby, oh my God, how much of the internet still runs on Ruby? You know, look, I'm sorry if I'm overreacting. This is not personal. All right. This is not, again, I have nothing to say about you personally, but I'm sick and tired of having people cite garbage collection as a problem. It is not a problem. It's a plus, because garbage collection causes the code to be simpler, and simpler code gets written faster. It can be trained in earlier, and it can be deployed much more quickly. And all of those things are the things that enterprises care about. They don't care about garbage collection performance, because the time over the internet or to the disk recovery or even RAM on an SSD are all going to slow that thing and become the bottleneck, not garbage collection. And if you run a race condition check, you're good. And look, this is not, I didn't want this to be a slam on any particular language or person. That's not what I'm doing. We're talking about enterprise needs. And I tell you one place where Rust is fantastic, so that no one gets the wrong idea. Every time I talk about this, people get the wrong idea and they think I'm bashing on Rust. That is not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is that Rust's lack of garbage collection is fantastic if you're writing an operating system. Gamazo's fuzzing that he's doing to write an operating system really quickly that's pretty stable, that he understands that he's going to be able to use to find to find problems. Great. Microsoft's entertaining the idea of using Rust. Great. Oxide Computing's idea of using Rust for all of the ancillary stuff besides C for the kernel. Fantastic. Alacrity. Great applications of Rust. Maybe you have a high concurrency demand and you don't want to go to Erlang, right? And then Rust is great for you. Game programming, replacing C++ with Rust. Hell yeah. All of those things, they're all fantastic uses of Rust. Enterprise computing is not one of them. It's not. I'm sorry, I'm getting thing. Yeah. About C versus Go, I don't think writing concurrent stuff in C is easy, right? No, absolutely not. I mean, there's threading and stuff, right? Yeah, the graph-based data structures are faster in garbage collection. Stack allocation is just slow for highly dynamic structures. Yeah, and I look. This is the thing. You're talking to somebody who has done both. Been a developer and I've been an SRE, and most of the development I've done has been systems administration applications and stuff like that. And so I've always been sort of a practical software engineer. I'm not formally computer science trained. Until probably 10 years ago, I couldn't have even told you what garbage collection is. I was just interested in something that got the job done. And that's largely where I come from. So it's important you know that. I do think all of these things are really important, but I don't think, what I think is really just crazy is how many enterprise systems were written in Perl, which has, it's fast and everything. It's a freaking interpreted scripting language with not only garbage collection, but all the interpreter and overhead as well. Python too. And yet these languages are still deployed in the enterprise. You're going to replace them with Rust? Hell no. You're going to get somebody to pay to train people to do that stuff? No. Do you know where the Rust jobs are? I actually looked recently. The Rust jobs right now are in edge computing. So Rust is, for example, InfluxDB is another place. So InfluxDB is this chronological database. It's a really popular thing. I know some of the guys that work there. It's a great company. I would love to work there. They wrote their Flux language in Rust. And I don't particularly think that language needed to be written in Rust. I think that was kind of an experiment on their part. I do think, however, that they would have done well to make their database engine in Rust. The Dino, Ryan Dahl's replacement for Node, he wrote Node in the first place, is written in Rust. And he wrote it in Go and said, no, this garbage collection can't be had for this compiler and this runtime for Dino. And he's absolutely right. It's a perfect pick for him to go with Rust in that case. All great picks. All of those are fantastic uses of Rust. And I just want to make sure that I'm not misunderstood. I think someday I probably will learn Rust, but it will be for one of those reasons. And the job postings that I saw in Rust that interested me the most were the electrical engineering ones. And Lundmar's not here right now. He's normally here. He's our resident expert in electrical. He's been doing electrical engineering, C level stuff for a very long time. Really successful freelancer, and he, C all the way. He's like, and even Brian Cantrell in that video said, I know how to code C. It's not an issue for him, but he did feel that Rust had a good place to replace some of the GNU core utilities. And so we're seeing this, right? We're seeing like ripgrep, right? Been replaced with Rust. That's a fantastic use of it. Things that are going to be executed so much by the entire world. So rewriting grep in Rust, I'm all for that. Ripgrep is great. Yeah, people love it. I'm all for replacing the core GNU utilities that are in GPL3 with a more permissive license and also improving in the process and writing them in Rust so that they are infinitely faster for billions of executions over time. So if you're going to make a utility that's open source and it's going to be used by billions of people over the next 20 years, hell yeah. Squeeze every ounce of performance out of that thing you can, because you're going to be slowing everybody down if you don't do it. That's not enterprise computing, though. That's a different demand. And that's a good example of a case where I would be okay with a utility that I could write in probably the same amount of time and Go and do it easier with garbage collection that personally I would rather have done in Rust, because I just know that Rust brings all the safety to the table. It's going to be on billions of computers, and I don't want to trust. It would make me trust it better. You know what I mean? The creator of 20-minute mark onwards on ripgrep. Oh yeah, we'll have to watch that. Andrew, I'll definitely watch that. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break here, but so these are all good enterprise decisions. And frankly, let's explore that thought a little bit more. Is Rust an enterprise language? Yes, if you're writing software that is going to be deployed to millions and billions of people where runtime matters, right? Yeah. So I guess that would make sense. So like, for example, if you're redoing the Microsoft utilities, maybe you want to redo PowerShell, write it in Rust. If you want to rewrite Bash, make a version in Rust. I mean, those are things that I could solidly get behind, because I want really highly qualified people, really pedantic jerks like Rust people tend to be, making these things, because I want to know that developers Like the other day when I was looking in the Cobra completion syntax, and I was looking at this disastrously bad eval statements and shell and stuff. I'm thinking to myself, this is why open source is still dangerous, because you don't have any control over the quality of the stuff. But and in which case, honestly, I would be more inclined to use a Rust open source project over one written in Go, unless I wanted to extend on it or use something from it, which is what I've done with YQ and JQ. Right? JVM has many GCs, many GCs. 1, CMS deprecated, G1 default, 3 is Shenandoah, GC based on a la Rust, self-healing, non-generational. Interesting. 4, ZGC, regional base size, concurrent multi-core self-healing. Very, very cool. That's super cool. That's a very enterprise thing to think of, though. Is there... Wow. See, the CMS one was deprecated. It's been so long since I followed that. I used to... Back in the day, I used to know everything about JVM internals. I know because I got fucking burned by one. At Nike, I had to fly the guy from Sun Microsystems to confirm it was a bug in the JVM. So yeah. Only for high performance specific loads. Let me make sure I understand you, Sensei. Are you saying that they have rewritten some of the JVMs in Rust, or that their garbage collection, non-existent garbage collection? I remember when I left Java, I remember that there were some I think I might be confusing this with Python as well, but I remember that there were some JVMs that were coming out that didn't have garbage collection. And I know there's a Python version, and I don't remember the name of it. I know that there is a Python interpreter that allows you to disable garbage collection completely because you know that you're not going to need it. Does anybody remember anything about that? And I was looking at it because I was looking at how you could like pull some extra performance out of Python, and that was one of the ways you could do it. That was back when I was I'm pretty sure it was a Python thing. I might be confusing that with the JVM from Java. But anyway, there's these interpreted languages. They're compiled and interpreted, right? Python is a compiled language. So is Java. It just gets compiled to bytecode instead of machine code. But it's also interpreted. People confuse that all the time. It's a very difficult concept for a beginner to understand. Is it interpreted or is it compiled? It's both. We have several stats through our monitoring tools. I can figure them out, but I do see it. I do see I/O being held up increasingly by the GC, enterprise Java. Yeah, as far as the biggest problem being training developers, yes, we'd like seniors as well. Thanks for that comment. What I'm interested to see is how many new people are coming into the enterprise that are knowing Java and taking on Java jobs. And I'm going to say something that's going to sound very racist. I don't mean it to. It was just my observation. I noticed a lot of Java skills coming from India. And I think it's because they just understand that's where the work is. In fact, every team that I personally have worked on that had extensive Java talent was almost 60% Indian. And again, I'm not saying that to be racist. I'm just telling you an observation I've made. And I just wonder if there's something different with regard to the IT marketing, I guess, and to the educational opportunities of people that are coming from different areas of the world. Yeah. There's still a lot of Java training in America, of course. While lifetimes can be called regions, is the same sense of the region-based memory management. Rust does not automatically manage memory based on them. Right. Rust does that at compile time. Right. Java does it at runtime. Right. Which is, yeah, obviously, yeah. The fastest the processor, the smaller the penalty. Yep. And that's where Rust actually. If you have GC bottlenecks, and you might. Enterprise computing does include processes that are running all the time, constantly, and they probably want to get rid of GC, and I would definitely replace those with Rust or Erlang. Actually, that's a tough one, right? Because you could probably still find more Rust talent than Erlang talent. I'm just guessing. I don't know. If I had a core enterprise, okay, so another time I would reach for Rust. If I had a core enterprise IT system that was really, really getting executed a lot and was highly critical. If it didn't work, we lost millions of dollars. I would give Rust a really strong consideration over Java. Would I rewrite an existing system and go through the debugging and risk of breaking my existing system? If I did, I would do that very, very carefully. And for that kind of thing, if I could pin down garbage collection through prototyping, which is really, at the enterprise scale, it's really hard to prototype things, isn't it, guys? Yeah. Who do well in interviews, but then they realize one day that they did not have the level of experience that we expected. I think that happens a lot. Poland has many Java devs as well, right? Because that's where the work is. The work is in Java still. It is. Nobody talks about it because it's not sexy. I hate it. But there's work in it. There's work in COBOL. I'm really interested in this topic about enterprise development. And one of the things I remember at IBM, we had a system that, I mean, it was we built a system and we had no idea whether it was going to be able to handle the load it was going to have. There was no way to test the load, frankly. There was no way. And we were part of IBM Global Services at the time, so we didn't have the software engineering resource available to us. But we did have the green light to use any open source software that we could get our hands on, which meant Postgres and things like that. We started out in Python, PHP for a while, Perl, SQLite. When it first versions of it, it did have bugs. PHP had massive bugs, bad ones, memory leaks and stuff. And then we wrote my own protocol to collect stuff in this Perl thing. And I bring this story up because one of the things that I always struggled with in the enterprise was testing at scale. And people talk a lot about test-driven development and stuff. What they really mean most of the time is writing good unit tests, which is not test-driven development. I mean, it's one part of it, but IBM will tell you there's like 4 or 5 levels. There's systems integration testing, user acceptance testing, unit testing. There's all these different levels of testing. And one of the areas that, even when I flipped over to the software engineering group at IBM, which is funny, it was like a $30K bump in salary for doing the same thing I was doing for the other department. Just my official title changed from like sysadmin to software engineer. It's the craziest thing. That's another thing that's crazy about the enterprise is there's lots of things that don't make any sense. The point is that it was hard to test at scale. And so somebody just raised the issue. I want to give somebody credit, but I mean, if you suspect there might be garbage collection problems in there, I am super curious to put the enterprise hat on and ask the question, how do you test for that? And that was actually part of my job on third level support for Tivoli, was to do some of this, like really, really high end. We'd have to like write simulations that produce load. When 50% were Java. Yeah. And they still will be, guys. They still will be. Well, in fact, one of the reasons that I think that so many colleges are still teaching Java is, I mean, let's be honest. When you go to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, the wall is covered with all the bankers and insurance companies that are sponsoring the school. And if you think that the needs of those companies is not influencing the curriculum of that school, you're kidding yourself, because it is. And sure enough, everything they teach is Java and all the stuff that those companies want. And there's a good job in it. You can make good money as a Java coder. Good money. Good money. Over 200 easy. For some of the higher end bank argument jobs. Yeah. And so, look, if you're just trying to get a job, that's a different question. And by the way, you can code in Java. If you can stomach it, you can code in Java and make great money and then work on open source projects and go on Rust all you want outside of that. If you can't stand it, then you can do something else. The other advantage, the only time I've ever came close to talking myself into learning modern Java and using it on a job has been when I'm working on, becoming a specialist in transitioning systems from Java to Go, in which case you need to be an expert in both. And oh my God, the money there has got to be so sweet, because so many of these big, rich companies realize they have some level of technical debt and they want to move to microservice architectures. and they want to simplify their IT, supply chains and all that. And they have bought into this idea of Go, and they've got all of this overhead with Java, and of course Java in part was replaced by Go at Google. That was one of the languages they targeted to replace that and Python. Nubank uses Clojure, and they just received $40 million in one investment to be watched. Yeah. Clojure, actually, Forbes magazine did an article. You can go look it up. It's called The 2 Highest Paid Languages You Maybe Never Heard of. And the 2 languages were Go and Scala. And I would put Clojure right there with it. The reason Clojure and Scala are so big is, just like our friend said, these enterprises who have JVM deployments going on, Java deployments already. Java uses a Java virtual machine, so you can employ any language that understands the Java virtual machine can be deployed on that. And Scala and Clojure are both completely different languages that can be written on top of the JVM. In fact, Scala feels a lot like Python. It looks a lot like Python, but it's not, and it leverages the existing JVM. And the reason for that is because they can write Clojure and Scala stuff that exists and interacts with the legacy Java stuff that's also there. So they can basically start migrating to a more modern language while still using all of their existing stuff that's still running on Java. And that's why Clojure and Scala and Java shops are really popular. If you wanted to make great big money in the industries that are locked into the Java JVM, if you know Java, of course, but then you also layer onto that Clojure, which is a pure functional. Clojure is a 100% pure functional language, just like Scheme or Lisp, designed to run on Java. Scala is more like a Python version for Java. And of course, there's Jython, which I don't think ever really hit mass appeal. I've never actually heard of Jython making it into mass appeal. But the idea being that banks around are using C#. C# last semester, yeah. So C# is the other big enterprise language. So if you go with microservices, you could transfer bit by bit. I think so too. Yeah, I think the big companies are going to come around. I happen to know that. I can't say specifically, but how's it going, Viking Coder? I know of one very, very big company that has decided to slowly, and this is usually how it works, IBM's doing this too, they'll, at their centers of innovation, they will experiment with porting some of their bigger systems off onto another language, and they will spend their entire time doing that. And they'll get it like really down well, and then they'll deploy in a limited scale. They move very slowly. So, get a job, learn Rust, and advertise that you know Rust. There you go. Freelance as a programmer on this side, say, I want to do this thing and that. At some point, you'll start getting requests for things they can't do. You're upcharged for that work and pay someone else to do it. Then you create a website. Then quit your job and do nothing. There's people in Silicon Valley who've done that. They caught people, right? They've caught people that have hired teams of Indians and Brazilians to do their job. They'd hire like 6 or 7 people, and they paid them their salary, and then they didn't do anything. They were their IT person for their own little shop, but it was all against the law. It was against the hiring agreement, and they got caught. That actually happened. That's not a myth. So yeah, your website page. The meaning of what's your understanding of the meaning of enterprise? Term used a lot, but I've never knew exactly what it means. That's a good point. Officially, the term enterprise, and I got to go here pretty soon. Officially, the term enterprise means a large organization. Enterprise includes, the reason it's not corporate is because enterprise includes nonprofit. Enterprise means large, usually medium to large scale businesses that are catering to lots of needs, that have a lot of people working there. When people hear enterprise, they almost always, okay, so I guess, how do you spot an enterprise? How do you spot an enterprise? By Mr. Rob. First of all, look for a walled garden. A walled garden is when nothing they do is public. That's the traditional idea of an enterprise. Would you call GitLab an enterprise? Kinda. GitLab is kind of an enterprise, but enterprises are more about what GitHub cater to. So we're developers, then you can know personally. You have an enterprise. Yeah, that's a good idea. When you're to spot an enterprise, almost always they have a walled garden. That means you have to have a VPN to work there. You can't do anything. Is Google an enterprise? Yeah, Google's an enterprise. IBM's, of course, the traditional enterprise. You know, what are other enterprises? NASA, SpaceX, those are all enterprises. I think that, well, I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of a nebulous term, I'll admit. But generally, it's something that's big enough to have an HR department with things like PTO and tends to, you know, Microsoft. That's a good point. There you go. Microsoft is definitely an enterprise. GitHub I don't know what the alternative of an enterprise is. I would say startup, but it's not, right? People say startup mentality, startup vibe all the time, but that's, what about Maven? Companies pushing changes to the public artifact. Maven has 19 million JVM artifacts. Library on Earth. Wow, look at that. Yep. So, yeah. Startup, mid-sized business, enterprise. Yeah, mid-sized business, enterprise. I think those are probably fair. When I hear enterprise, I think big. That's what I think. I think they have big company problems. I mean, for an enterprise to make a small decision, like what operating system is going to be required for their employees, or whether or not to use Microsoft Word. IBM famously dropped Microsoft products in 2000, a long time ago, and went with open source, Open Office. When you make a decision that normally, if it's just like 12 people in your department, it's like, yeah, okay, let's just change today. An enterprise makes a change like that, and they pay or save millions of dollars, and it takes them a month to deploy it. If you're a little mid-sized startup or small-sized startup, you're like, okay, we're gonna do that today. Oh, hey, everybody got that done? Yeah, last week we did it. So, and this is the whole thing about agile business models and stuff like that. Some people would argue that large-scale enterprises are dead and that they're being chopped up, including IBM, which just got chopped up recently. And they need to be agile. Most enterprises, including Nike that I work for, they have smaller divisions that work in an agile way, and they have almost like autonomous entities that interchange with each other. They even have internal dollars and budgets and economies that buy from each other within the enterprise. That's another key indicator you have an enterprise. As soon as you have what is the equivalent of multiple small companies within a company who work with each other through contractual obligations and payment of dollars. So like you will have like the IT group, and they will outsource within their company to another team, and they will buy services from that team and create a service level agreement, and they will provide services for each other within IBM or within a large corporation. That's when you have an enterprise. When you have a whole ecosystem of businesses that exists independent of one another within the larger organization. That's definitely an enterprise. And then that's when you get microservices. Amazon is one of these, right? You get microservices because now not all of these little tiny autonomous things can't decide how to communicate. And the IT shop doesn't have the power to help all of them communicate. That's at Nike. I made SwooshNet. SwooshNet was an intranet to help all of these little organizations communicate and work with one another. And that was a big part of that. And then when I worked on supply chain management and delivery, that was a part of doing Nike ID and helping this whole stuff work together. That's what IT is. Enterprise IT is getting all of this stuff to work together. That's why a CTO job is such a big deal at an enterprise, because they have to wrangle all of this different IT. And that's why Bezos's decree that thou shalt make microservices, I don't care if you're a janitor, that's right in the letter, was so profound, because he said, I'm going to squelch all of this lack of infighting, and we're not going to talk to you. Everybody in my organization is going to create a microservice, and anybody else in the organization is going to be able to communicate with those microservices according to this standard. And that's where enterprise computing and cloud computing, localized cloud native computing and Kubernetes and all that stuff is just blowing up, because it's facilitated the internal IT dynamic that's happening within a company. If that sort of dynamic doesn't exist in your company, it's a good chance you're not an enterprise. If you don't have an internal communications dynamic between two different departments, because you're just one department, you're either a startup or you're a mid-sized company where everybody just knows each other and you just agree on stuff, right? I mean, mid-sized companies, like one that comes to mind is Coin. Coin has their own operating system everybody has to run, and they, and they have contractors all over the place, but within their organization, other than they have an HR person and something, there's not a real clear, to me it seems, there's not a real clear separation of multiple organizations within the enterprise there, which is why I wouldn't call them an enterprise, because they're not, it's a shop, right? At that point, they're all together, right? And they're all kind of doing the same thing and they're communicating that way. There's not an internal dynamic that pits, network operations versus software operations versus, that's where DevOps, everything comes from. It's a fun topic, and I'm getting back into the enterprise, so I like talking about it. Startup is not profitable. When you Google Cloud, AWS sharpens into a sword. Yes. Yeah. Cloud AWS sharpens the sword. Yes. AWS is already replacing everything on the market. ECS replaces Kubernetes. Yep. ECR replacing Docker Hub. Maybe Docker Hub, yeah, but not. I don't know about Kubernetes. ECS, I don't think it. The problem with that is people are going cloud native on site, on prem. I know that for a fact because I'm about to interview for places doing that. They don't want anything to do with cloud. They want to build their own, and that's a trend. It's a pretty significant trend in the industry right now, which I support fully. I really want to see that happen. Document DB replacing Mongo. Yep. CloudFormation replacing Terraform. I don't know, man. CloudFormation and Terraform, they're not really in the same class, man. I respect that opinion. That's a great thing to talk about. AWS Elasticsearch replaces Elasticsearch. Yeah, maybe. RDS replaces MySQL Postgres. Yes, for sure. That was kind of a funny one, though. I think Sensei probably remembers this. Future said, do you remember when Oracle was like, oh yeah, Amazon, you can't replace us? Oh yeah, Netscape evaporated overnight. Yahoo, nobody even knows about it. IT game is pretty serious. Yeah. Matter of time before singularity. I don't think so. I'm going to fight my hardest to prevent that from happening. Sensei, I hope you're not right. There's definitely reason to believe that. I am seeing more and more big companies go cloud native. They're building their own clouds, and they're done. It's the ancient pendulum: centralized, decentralized, cloud, no cloud. It's the same thing. And right now, the movement is bringing all this on-prem, and that's what Kubernetes is doing. And the demand for that is exploding. And I hope it continues, because I do not want a world where everything is hosted on Amazon. I do not want to live in that world. I think Amazon is an amazing company that's done amazing things. I would easily work for them if given an opportunity, but I do not think Google Cloud's pretty big too. Yep. Hey, well, you build your own cloud. Any data breach is your fault, but also the security and reliability is your fault. Yep. And this is what's really interesting. The CTOs out there right now are really clamoring on this decision, because cybersecurity is like skyrocketing and on the list of priorities that's now hitting the CTO's desk all over the place, and it's getting even more. So the question is, what is the most secure thing that we can do here? And honestly, I hate to say this, but Microsoft really proved the action that Microsoft took to protect all Microsoft operating systems from this last breach might be a really draconian, terrible measure, but I guarantee you there are some security officers, CTOs, and CEOs out there that looked at what Microsoft did and they went, I am so glad that I went with Microsoft for my enterprise. And I am not a Microsoft fanboy, and I think that what they did is terrifying. But if your job is to protect your enterprise, and that kind of effort just happened, and Microsoft just flipped a switch and made every Microsoft system on the current patch level immune to that massive violation of stuff, and you happen to abuse that service. If I'm a CTO or a COO and I saw Microsoft's level of power to immediately, it's ironic because I'm actually stating a case about Spectre and the Meltdown. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe you have more insight into that, but I mean, obviously Microsoft is the reason for a lot of these problems too, right? They've had so many security flaws, forever. But if I am a CTO or I'm a COO and I'm watching that, what about the Azure stuff in comparison to AWS? I don't know. I think that's why I do not count out Azure. I hate it. I hate Azure, but people don't forget about it. There are so many enterprises that are Microsoft shops. Microsoft kicks butt in the enterprise. They really don't care about the rest of the stuff. Their business is big enterprise, and they sell thousands of seats to people all the time. Off Azure to GCP. Interesting. Are in Kubernetes now. Interesting to know that. Yeah. You're a cloud native as well? Wow. Yeah. So you were on. Okay, I'm going to make an argument for why I think that Kubernetes is going to be around for a while, even though I don't particularly like it. I think some of the stuff about I don't really know it very well, so I should put that out there too. Everything migrates to the walled garden gives a sense of support and safety. It does. See, this is. I'm glad we're having this conversation. It looks like we got a lot of visitors here who are more enterprisey kind of people, and that's good for the rest of us that are usually on my stream. They don't talk about enterprise interests because it's so important if you're a junior engineer that you're going to work for the enterprise, that you understand these concerns in these conversations. Because if you go in there, you'll make assumptions about things that are based on a different mindset, and you've kind of got to shift your brain into thinking in terms of enterprise. And enterprise makes decisions that you might hate, like using Microsoft, for example, right? But it is not a realistic position to say that all of X and Y enterprise company can use Pop! OS. Or Arch, for God's sake. I am so sick and tired, and I love Arch for, tweaking and stuff like that, but I am sick and tired of hearing people on YouTube and individuals push Arch as the best operating system. It's the only thing anybody should use. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Because that might be fine, but in the enterprise, and somebody corrected me and they said that they were using Arch in enterprise. Turns out it was cybersecurity, and it was a mid-sized company that allowed people to use Arch for their hacking and pen testing and stuff like that. It's a very edge case. If you were to tell X and Y company at scale that they are going to allow deployments of Arch and the AUR inside of the walled garden, they would laugh you out of town if they didn't fire you on the spot. Because the concerns of an enterprise are totally, totally different than I'm kind of getting emotional. They're totally different than your cool little desktop OS that you want to play around with. You might be extremely innovative. You might get a lot of ideas. You might be able to use that in private. I already know because you're the only person using your machine. Right. And I think pen testing is one of those areas where you can get it. We actually came to that conclusion earlier in the year. I was actually trying to get a real good handle on whether Arch had a future. And Red Hat, of course, is the enterprise Linux distro, period. SUSE and Red Hat are it. I mean, Ubuntu, of course, for that cloud stuff. So, most big companies use everything Microsoft, and you have to learn to get around that. And I'm having to go through this myself recently. I haven't got the job yet, but I've already had a conversation about how to best get me the laptop that I'll have to use for this particular position, because this position has to have this computer that's running Microsoft. And because the enterprise has deployed its entire architecture at scale in Microsoft. So when you're making decisions that involve millions of seats at scale, you start to make decisions that are based on less than your own personal interest about. And one of the credits to IBM I'll give them is that IBM is one of these companies, and yet they still allowed for a standard Linux image to be used. Or if you used your own homegrown Linux, this is one of the, I got to tell you, IBM's got a lot of things bad that I would say about them, but one of the coolest things I liked about them is they had an internal, they're so big that they have internal subcontinents kind of, and they had an entire internal group that was dedicated to promoting Linux within the enterprise that was at odds with other elements of the enterprise. And what they got approved was they got approved to have, you could run any version of Linux as long as you run their Linux spyware, which ensures that you are in compliance with all of the security stuff and everything. Other than that, you could run your Fedora, you could run your SUSE or whatever you wanted to. And so they allowed this flexibility, unlike Coin. Coin, you have to run their desktop image, apparently. You must, and it's Linux and all that. And other banks, you must run their Microsoft image or whatever. And, schools, you have to run this Chromebook or you can't use anything else. I've got to give IBM credit for that. That was a massive undertaking for them to allow that level of flexibility and to maintain a level of security that met with corporate standards. I had to tell you, I was really impressed with that, because I might have balked at the fact that I had to use mainframe to fill out job postings and stuff, but the fact that I could use any Linux distro I wanted to, as long as I was compliant with their software and stuff, just was really cool. I just really like that. So many systems on Azure running Linux, yes. Enterprise Linux in the kernel, yes. Microsoft objectively more powerful than Red Hat, probably. Microsoft and its SUSE Microsoft pretty much owns SUSE these days too, right? Let's see. Enterprise companies have to be compliant with data standards. They can't risk it. No, they can't. They will. Yeah, they've got all kinds of standards this is another thing that people coming into the industry don't understand. Enterprises that are operating at scale often are working for government contracts and other stuff like that, and they don't have the option to let you use your Arch. It's not in their options. They can't even tell you to do that. They have a full legal team that has to comply with standards that meet compliance with certain government standards, which are improving all the time. Actually, I read, was it 3 months ago, I read a thing about the government had just released another set of standards for any of the cybersecurity firms that were doing business with them. And it was automatically going to increase costs for a ton of providers for government contracts, because they had to ensure they were meeting a higher level of cybersecurity. And you might think their level and their determination is complete bullshit. It doesn't matter, because you don't get their business if you don't do it. And this is the thing. This is the thing that people continue to understand who are new in the industry. Sometimes you don't get to choose. You don't get to choose to install Emacs on that corporate server over there to do your stuff. You don't get to choose to even copy over your vimRC. If you make any change to the disk on that system that is under strict compliance to any particular rule, you have to have a change ticket 2 weeks in advance. And if you think that's going to be approved by a change ticket administration board, and you put forward a request to have, X and Y personal file added, for God's sake, install Emacs so I can do something over there. This is why I laugh so loud at people who don't consider these things, who are also targeting careers in SRE and system administration, infrastructure engineering, because they have never encountered an enterprise scale change management system. They don't understand all of this red tape, and they think that they can just throw whatever they want anywhere, and that they can do this and that, and that they'll run I3 on their favorite. You can't do that. The reason that I am a diehard terminal user is because, and then I even get scared when I start to get married to Vimisms, is because of this, because I've worked in the enterprise before, and there's a lot of work in enterprise. I had to use Eclipse to do my Java development, for God's sake. I learned to get around it. I use VI under the hood and just save my stuff. Script.sh, what would be a more enterprise-directed Linux distribution? Well, I think, there's Red Hat, right? Red Hat is definitely enterprise. It's almost synonymous with enterprise at this point for a developer, right? You can't support that for 5,000 employees from different professions, right? They're mostly IT. I think that's probably right. Yeah. Red Hat and SUSE. I completely agree with that. Red Hat, SUSE, and Ubuntu. Ubuntu is more of a cloud thing, but Red Hat, SUSE, and Ubuntu, right? You'll find Red Hat and SUSE on enterprise systems almost everywhere. You believe it or not, you'll still find a lot of AIX and Solaris out there. That's another thing about the enterprise. People don't upgrade stuff until it needs to be upgraded. They're okay with technical debt. It still makes them money. They have to pay $10 million to upgrade thousands of systems just to get out of their technical debt. Why? There has to be a really, really, really solid justification for that. Let me recommend everybody. I'm going to wrap up with this recommendation. Anybody who wants to understand the concerns of the enterprise, which will make you much better interviewee if you're going for a job in enterprise, make sure you meet the man with the taupe blazer. Man in the taupe blazer. I've talked about this before, but this is fitting for this conversation. This is an old write-up. It's very, very long. They used to give you a reward at the end if you read all the way through the thing. It's so freaking long. But welcome back. You spent 37 minutes here. They do this because they're trying to get you to come back, because it takes you a long time to get through this. It was made in 2015. And I cannot, it's just really entertaining. It'll teach you a little bit about coding, but more importantly, I'll send it to you. This is probably the best write-up I've ever seen about understanding the concerns of the enterprise and the dynamics between the hot tech in the taupe blazer who controls the company and the executive who's in charge of keeping the company stable and holds the purse strings. And if you're either of those people, you want to read this because it really dives into the dynamic between them and how important it is to understand that dynamic and the concerns of the enterprise. This does apply to smaller company sizes as well, but it's, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you even have libraries that are pen tested and pinned that you can't even update to a new version. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, wow, we got a lot of great new people in the Twitch stream I'm not recognizing right now. I really appreciate your contributions to this conversation. It's a super important conversation for, we got the grandpas and babies in here, right? I love that term. Because we have people that have been through the enterprise and got the battle scars and may or may not, might not even know what Arch is, right? But they should. So they got the grandpas that should be looking at the new things that are coming out so they can influence, they can see what's coming up with centers of innovation. You should be a walking center of innovation, even if you work in a big enterprise. I'm going to give you a challenge. Okay. And then I'm going to go. The challenge is, don't ever stop being a one-person center of innovation. Do your own autodidactic learning. Make sure that you're up on what's new. Make sure you do a fair job for your employer, but never fall behind. Keep your skills up. At least know what the things are. Maybe sample a new language every year or so. Keep yourself up to date. Don't become a dinosaur. This is a word that is associated with enterprise IT experts who get, they're resting on their laurels. It's the reason that big IT shops are so famous for letting go thousands of people all at one time, because they get crusty and old and they got deadlines. They don't got time to learn anything new, and the company ain't going to let them do it. Companies don't pay you for that stuff anymore. So on the flip side, if you're a new young person or you're in the industry and you're just breaking into IT and you know all the new stuff and you want to code everything in Rust and art on an Arch system, spend some time to talk to somebody. I'm going to give you homework. Spend some time. Spend some time to identify some grandpas. That's an affectionate term, and grandmas, right? And find them, even whether they're here in the stream or they're in the Discord or they're hard to find, but find them and actually get them, just sit and listen to them and get them to talk about the dynamics of a large enterprise. Because chances are before you die, you'll be working for a large enterprise. I do think that large enterprises are on the decline and that it's more about smaller, more agile businesses, but we're seeing a new enterprise model that includes multiple fast-moving small organizations within a large organization. So either way, you're going to have to deal with enterprise, red tape and legal considerations and all of these things. Working for some of these enterprises, even looking at open source code in the wrong way can taint you forever from working on a software project for that company because of the legal requirements. So the homework is just sit and listen to somebody who was me or others who have worked in enterprise or who are currently working in them, so that when you come to the job interview or wherever you might be already employed, so that you can, it's called What is Code, but I searched for the man in the taupe blazer. There it is, the man in the taupe blazer. What is Code? And I sent a link to it in the chat there. And, yep. And it's really great. It's one of the reasons that I would love to work for Bloomberg. I'm such a talker and streamer and everything. Bloomberg over the next 5 to 10 years is definitely a company I want to apply for to work for, because this is what they concern themselves with. They concern themselves with helping everybody understand how the dynamics of tech in the IT industry work. And it's something that I'm fundamentally interested in as well, mostly from the perspective of helping people survive and operate within that, whether they're breaking in and they want a $100,000 junior dev job, or they have been there for a while and they need to keep their skills fresh and understand why they should keep their skills fresh. It's been really fun. I got to go. My throat hurts. I've been talking for a good 4 hours straight. I may or may not come back tonight. Most likely not. But tomorrow I'll be here and we'll be doing Beginner Boost again at 10. We'll be doing some more of that web design book, and we'll be working through it. Really appreciate all your participation. If you're on YouTube, welcome. And this video will go out on YouTube as well. You got plenty to do without me, and probably time for me to turn over Twitch to the many, many other amazing streamers who are probably going to pop on here near the evening time. And I'll be there watching some of those Twitch streams with you probably. So you might see me out there, RWX Rob, bouncing around on the different crazy Twitch channels. Make sure you follow me and all that stuff if you want to bump into me. And I'll talk to you guys later. Okay? Any other last minute questions? If not, I'm going to go put this fire out right here. Right here. Where is it? Right here. Ouch. 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 I love green screens. Bye, guys.